The funeral hall was quiet. Yun-se standing by the memorials of her deceased parents. The air is heavy with grief as she mourns their loss. Her tears flow freely, and in her heart, she clings to the only family she has left, her grandfather. For as long as she could remember, her grandfather had been her anchor. He was the one who had shielded her after her parents' tragic passing. From that moment on, Yun-se had vowed to do whatever it took to make her grandfather happy. But even the strongest anchors weaken over time. Yun-se had recently discovered a heartbreaking truth. Her grandfather was in the late stages of pancreatic cancer. His remaining days were few, and with what little time he had left, he had made a request. He wanted to see her married before he passed away. Yun-se's heart churned. Marriage? She was too young, and it felt rushed. Yet, her grandfather's concern for her future left her no choice but to consider it. At college, Soo-kwon approached Yun-se, her carefree and charming friend who always lightened her mood. An idea stuck in her mind as she suddenly dragged him outside the classroom. Once they were outside, she hesitated for a moment before blurting out, "Soo-kwon, would you marry me?" Soo-kwon froze, stunned for a moment, then broke into a grin. "Of course. It's sudden, but how could I refuse when you're the one proposing?" he said, then added with a laugh, "But let's marry when we're 30, okay?" Yun-se opened her mouth to explain, but his phone rang, interrupting her. One of his friends invited him to meet some pretty girls nearby. Soo-kwon's grin widened. "Sounds fun. Let's continue this tomorrow." Yun-se, "I gotta go now." Yin forced a smile. Okay, go. I was just kidding anyway." Soo-kwon chuckled, pinching her cheeks. "I knew it, but still my heart was pounding, you know." With that, he waved and walked off, leaving the campus. Yun watched his retreating figure, her chest tightening. Frustrated, she muttered to herself, "What have I done? What was I expecting from someone who's never serious? Can he take me seriously, just for once? Was my face not serious enough?" Lost in her thoughts, she bumped into someone. Startled, she looked up, apologizing hastily. The man, with an icy demeanor, interrupted her. "Next time, pay attention to where you're walking. Don't daydream." Irritated by his tone, Yin snapped, "If you saw me daydreaming, you could have avoided me. Instead, you walked right into me. You did it on purpose, didn't you?" Before he could respond, a car sped dangerously close to her. In a swift motion, the man grabbed her arm and pulled her to safety. The momentum brought her crashing into his chest, their faces so close that their lips accidentally brushed. Time seemed to freeze for a moment. Realizing what had just happened, the man quickly released her. Yun stumbled, her face turning crimson. "Don't get the wrong idea," he said coldly, brushing off his sleeve. "The car was speeding. I only pulled you to keep you safe." "Yeah, thanks," she stammered. She straightened herself, avoiding his gaze. "Let's just pretend none of this happened. We're both having a bad day." Without waiting for his reply, she turned to leave, but before she could escape, his amused voice cut through the air. "You're not even going to thank me for saving your life." His lips curled into a teasing smirk. Then, with a glint of mischief in his eyes, he added, "Or are you planning to leave without compensating me for that kiss just now?" Yun-se, still reeling from the close call, retorted, "What kiss? Our lips barely touched. Don't act like it's such a big deal." Her voice dripped with sarcasm as she added, "What's the matter? Don't tell me you've never been kissed before." The man smirked. "What makes you think that? If anything, you're the one who looks like they've never kissed anyone before." Irritated, Yin shot back, "What's so special about you? I don't even remember kissing you." His smirk deepened. "Really? People don't usually forget their first kiss so easily." Her anger flared at his teasing tone. "First kiss? You're delusional. For your information, you're the 108th person I've kissed, so forgive me if it wasn't memorable." With that, she spun on her heel, her voice sharp as she added, "And don't talk to me if you see me again, you perverted guy." He stood there, watching her storm off, with amusement dancing in his eyes. "The 108th, huh? Interesting," he muttered, a faint grin lingering as he watched her disappearing figure. Back at campus, Yin-se sat in class, distracted. Her friends laughed and chatted around her, discussing upcoming parties and outings, but she could hardly focus. Soo-yun, ever the life of the group, bantered with the others, his carefree smile brightening the mood. Suddenly, the professor walked in, silencing the chatter. "Good morning, everyone," he began, his tone serious. "Today, we have a special guest lecturer who will be joining us as a lecturer for the next semester." He introduced himself with a calm, steady voice. "Good morning, my name is Kong Junyoung." Yun froze, her eyes widening in disbelief. She clutched her notebook tightly, her face a mixture of shock and mortification. Her mind screamed, "The annoying person from yesterday." Her cheeks burned as she ducked lower in her seat. Her panic escalated as his eyes scanned the classroom. She ducked behind her notebook, whispering to herself, "Did I see it wrong? Please let me be wrong." Suddenly, his voice rang out, sharp and clear, cutting through the chatter. "You, the one clutching the book, what's your name?" Startled, Yin fro. "I'm Choi Yoon Seol, sir," she stammered, trying to steady her voice. A playful smirk tugged at his lips. "Miss Choi," he began smoothly, "I never knew that biting a book could help you absorb its content." The class erupted into laughter, and Yun-se's face turned crimson. Before she could recover, his smirk deepened. "Well then," he said, flipping the page casually, Why don't you explain page 108? Her heart skipped a beat at the deliberate pause before his next words. Oh, my mistake, he added, his tone laced with mischief. I meant page 10.8. His eyes sparkled with amusement as he continued. Go ahead, Miss Choi. Please enlighten us. His smirk widened, clearly enjoying her discomfort. As class ends, Soo-Yoon casually greeted Professor Kong. Why didn't you tell me you'd be teaching here? She asked, her tone light and playful. Let's have a coffee, she added. Kong Jun-young's expression remained polite but distant as he replied. I have something to take care of after this. Also, it's not appropriate for a professor and student to have coffee together. Oh, Soo-Yoon, you know him? One of the classmates asked, surprised. Soo-Yoon replied nonchalantly, yeah, our families know each other. Later, Jun-young, Yun's friend, suggested lunch, craving jimpong, but Yun declined. I'm just going to head straight home. I'm just tired, she said with a weak smile. Walking through the hallway, she noticed Kong Jun-young ahead of her. Gathering her courage, she called out, Mr. Kong, can we talk for a moment? He stopped and turned, his sharp gaze locking onto hers. I'm sorry for how our first meeting went, she began hesitantly. But can we not bring our issue into class? Don't you remember me? His smirk returned, a hint of amusement in his eyes. I never bring personal issues into my class. I act like a professor who advises his students. His voice dipped slightly, carrying a hint of sarcasm. Don't be arrogant. Her mouth opened in shock, but no words came out as he turned and walked away. She stood there, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. Later that evening, back in her apartment, Yun's phone buzzed. It was her grandfather calling. She answered quickly. Yun-se, how are you? He asked cheerfully. I'm good, Grandpa. How about you? She replied. I'm doing well. Listen, I'll be in the city this Saturday to meet an old friend's son. You should join us. Well, I don't have any plans, so sure, she said. Great. I'll pick you up then. See you soon. The call ended, leaving her staring at her phone. The next day arrived with a crispness in the air, and Yun-se found herself accompanying her grandfather to a luxurious estate. Kong Tae-jin, her grandfather, called out with warmth as the host approached. The owner of such a large company shouldn't need to personally greet guests to the front gate. Yun-se's grandfather teased lightly. But I had to come out. I wanted to meet this young lady, Kong Tae-jin replied, chuckling as she bowed politely. Her grandfather introduced her to King Tae-jin and his wife, Hao Kyung. These are the children of my late friend, Kong Dong-woo. They were also close friends with your parents and the owner of TJ Corporation. It's lovely to meet you, Yun-se said with a warm smile. You've grown into such a beautiful young lady, Tae-jin said warmly. Come inside, Hao Kyung added, motioning them toward the grand entrance. As they walked, Tae-jin said, your family has contributed so much to mine. Without you, TJ Corp wouldn't be where it is today. Don't say that, her grandfather interjected, waving off the compliment. As they entered the home, Tae-jin sighed, his voice tinged with guilt. Yun-se, I regret not reaching out after your parents' passing. I should have. Hao Kyung gently cut him off, her tone soft and comforting. Let's not bring up something so heavy now, dear. Tae-jin quickly shifted the mood with a warm smile. Yun-se, if you're willing, consider yourself part of our family. I'd be thrilled to finally have a daughter, maybe even a younger sibling and an older brother for my kids. Hao Kyung shook her head with a playful smile. Tae-jin, you're going to embarrass her. You've always wanted a daughter, and now you're jumping at the chance. Tae-jin turned, gesturing with pride. Oh, there he is, our second son, Kong Ji-ho. Say hello. The young man bowed politely. Nice to meet you. I'm Kong Ji-ho. As they continued chatting, the sound of confident footsteps echoed down the hallway. Everyone turned just as the firstborn son entered the room. The air grew tense for a moment as Yun-se locked eyes with none other than Kong Jun-young, the man who had saved her from that speeding car just days ago. Her eyes widened in shock. Both of them froze, their eyes locking in disbelief at the sheer unexpectedness of the moment. Outside the house, Jun-young broke the silence first. Fate really has a sense of humor, doesn't it? He said, his voice laced with amusement. Yun took a deep breath, trying to suppress her irritation. Why don't we start over? Thank you for saving my life, she said, her tone polite but guarded. Jun-young's eyes glinted with mischief as he replied, Oh, you said you didn't remember, but now it seems like you do remember that. Hey, Yun-se interrupted sharply, her face heating up. No need for details, and yes, I remember everything, sir, she added, the last word with an awkward smile. He chuckled softly. Apart from class, just call me Jun-young. Yun-se straightened her posture and shook her head. How could I? You're older and clearly much more experienced. Apart from class, just call me Jun-young. Apart from class, just call me Jun-young. You mean first kiss experience, but I can't compare to you. You've had it 108 times. Her face burned red as she stammered, glaring at him. He chuckled, unbothered. Isn't that right, Miss Choi? Her frustration boiled over. You're impossible. Because of my grandfather and your parents? I'm trying to be civil, but she jabbed her finger toward him. Be careful. Outside, we don't know each other, understand? With a casual shrug, he replied, exactly what I want. No need to pretend to be nice. Leaning slightly closer, he added, it doesn't suit me anyway. As he turned to leave, Yun stood frozen, her fists clenched as irritation simmered within her. Back at the college, Yun confided in her friend, revealing that she was looking for a potential partner to marry and had even proposed to Soo-kun. Shocked, her friend exclaimed, How can you just marry anyone like that? She then scolded Yin. You need someone mature and established, not just anyone. Suddenly, her friend's expression brightened as an idea struck her. I know, my aunt runs a matchmaking business. Let's arrange a blind date for you. Without waiting for a response, she added decisively, I'll set it up for this Saturday. On Saturday, at a hotel, Yin-se sat waiting for her matchmaking partner to arrive. When he finally appeared, he introduced himself politely, but soon began rambling endlessly about his own good looks. The following Saturday, she met another man who was overly cautious about diet and wouldn't even let her eat freely. As the weeks went by, Yin met various men. Some were overly bold, hitting on her directly, while others believed in ghosts and shared unsettling, scary stories. It was becoming clear to her just how difficult it was to find a suitable match. However, one Saturday, she met a man who seemed genuine. As she entertained the thought, she accidentally dropped her teacup. The man quickly offered her his handkerchief, a small gesture that sparked a glimmer of hope within her. Perhaps there was still a chance to find a decent man. At the same hotel, on the other side, Jun-young sat in a chair, arguing over the phone with his mother. Why do you make promises without consulting me first? He said, his tone laced with irritation. His mother calmly explained, it wasn't me. My friend wanted to introduce her daughter to you after seeing how well your company is performing. As soon as the call ended, someone called his name. A young woman stood in front of him, smiling brightly. Remembering his mother's words, Jun-young regarded her with a serious expression and asked, You look familiar. Have we met before? The girl smiled brightly and replied, Yes, we met last year at Prince Ivan's birthday party. Without waiting for a response, she began rambling about how she could help him expand his business by leveraging her connection with the prince. Jun-young listened, visibly annoyed with her relentless chatter. Finally, he stood up and said politely, It was nice meeting you, but I have some work to attend to. I should get going. The girl quickly suggested that she had arrived at an inconvenient time and offered to leave first. As she walked toward the exit, Jun-young let out a sigh and sat back in his chair, relieved to finally have some peace. On the other side of the hotel, Yun's meeting seemed to be going well. As they engaged in conversation, the man started politely, asking about her family. However, his tone shifted when he revealed, I spent 30 million just to meet someone on my level. Yin-se was taken aback, her shock evident on her face. Noticing her reaction, the man suddenly grabbed her hand and said, Don't lie to me. I know people like you low class, desperate. Follow me to the room, or I'll report you. Her anger flared, and she retorted, Report me to the police. I'm not afraid. Just then, a familiar voice echoed through the air. Jun-young, who was passing by, stopped in his tracks. The man continued, ignoring her defiance. If you want money, I can help you get quickly. Yin clenched her teeth, trying to control her temper. Before the man could say more, his hand was firmly grabbed by someone else. Startled, Yin looked up, only to see Jun-young standing there, glaring at the man with an icy expression. His grip tightened, causing the man to wince and stumble backward in pain. Without a word, Jun-young grabbed Yun's hand and swiftly led her out of the scene. Struggling to keep up with his pace, Yin stumbled behind him. Thank you. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't been there, she said breathlessly. She glanced down at her hand and added, You can let go now, Jun-young. He released her hand and asked, So, you were here for a blind date? Irritated, she replied, Whatever it is, it's none of your business. Jun-young turned to her and, with a smirk, remarked, Judging by how you're dressed, it must have been a date, unless what that guy said was true. Her face flushed, and she quickly denied it. She sat down on a nearby chair with a sigh. Taking a deep breath, she explained, My grandfather is ill. This was his last wish to see me married. My friend's aunt runs a matchmaking agency, so I decided to try this. Jun-young's expression grew serious as he asked, I thought marriage and love were every woman's dream. Is it really okay to go on blind dates like this? Sighing again, she replied, It's not easy, but I don't need love for my grandfather's happiness. I just want the title of wife. Jun-young stared at her intently, as though deep in thought. She added softly, I thought the man earlier was a good person. I thought I could finally make my grandfather's wish come true. Jun-young pulled up a chair beside her, sitting down without a word. He appeared to be calculating something in his mind before he finally glanced at her and said, Choi Yoon Seol, just marry me. Yin froze for a moment, completely taken aback. A second later, she laughed nervously. You must be joking. His expression remained serious as he replied, Didn't you say you wouldn't refuse if someone asked you to marry them? Her laughter faded. Yes, but why does it have to be you? Jun-young leaned forward slightly and said calmly, Because it's beneficial for both of us. We meet each other's criteria, and our families know each other. Your grandfather will be happy if you marry me. Suspicious, she asked, And what do you get out of this? I need the status of a husband, just like you need the title of wife, he replied. Realization dawned on her, and her eyes widened. Wait, are you also here for? Yes, he interrupted. I don't want to waste my time on blind dates. If I marry someone else, I'd have to deal with their feelings, but you only care about the title. It's convenient for both of us. She looked at him thoughtfully and mumbled, I can't imagine us getting married. Then, after a pause, she said, Can I have some time to think? With a confident smile, Jun-young replied, Fine, I'll give you 3 days. On the third day, at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, meet me at the parking lot where we first met. If you don't show up, that means you are rejecting my offer. 3 days later, at the parking lot, Jun Young stood, waiting as promised. He glanced at his watch. It was 4:50 in the afternoon. His eyes scanned the quiet, empty path ahead. Minutes ticked by, and he checked the time again. Now it was 5:10. Disappointed, he unlocked his car door, thinking to himself, what was I even expecting by coming here? Just as he was about to get into the car, someone called out his name. He turned to see Yoon Seol running toward him, slightly out of breath. Sorry. I'm so sorry I'm late, she said, panting. My class ended later than expected. Jun Young's expression remained serious as he replied, You're 10 minutes late. Still trying to catch her breath, she responded, I'm here to accept your offer, but I have one condition. She straightened herself and looked at him firmly. I want this marriage to stay a secret, at least until I graduate. You're quite popular on campus, and if this gets out, it could be a disaster for me. Jun Young's lips curled into a faint smile as he nodded. Very well. He extended his hand for a handshake and said, In that case, nice working with you, Miss Choi. But he suddenly pulled her forward, and she stumbled into his arms. He held her steady, his grip firm. Startled, she placed her hands on his chest, pushing against him. What are you doing? Just hugging me like that? She exclaimed. With a smirk, he leaned in slightly and said, Well, aren't we a couple now? We should start looking like one. At the Kong mansion, during dinner, the atmosphere grew tense as everyone turned their attention to Jun Young, who had just announced he had some news to share. With a steady expression, he stated, I'm going to marry Choi Yoon Seol. His father's face lit up with happiness. Mr. Choi's granddaughter? That's wonderful news, he exclaimed. In contrast, Mrs. King's expression clouded with concern. His father nodded approvingly. I had a feeling about this when they visited us, but I wasn't sure. Jun Young responded calmly. We've been dating for quite some time, but I didn't know our parents were acquainted. Mrs. Kong interrupted, her voice firm yet restrained. How long have you two been in a relationship? You were only teaching at her campus last week. Isn't this marriage decision a bit rushed? Jun Young met her gaze evenly. We've been dating long before I started teaching at her campus. I simply didn't tell you, he replied smoothly. Then, with a faint smile, he added, And that's why I dislike it when you push me into blind dates with your friends' daughters. Don't worry, mother. I'm marrying Yoon Seol because I love her. Mrs. Kang's eyes widened slightly, a wave of panic washing over her as she thought. Does he even know what love really is? Irritated, she clenched the fork in her hand tightly, though her expression remained composed. With a forced smile, she said, Jun Young, why don't you bring her here? I'd like to talk to her myself. On the phone, Yin was stunned by the news. Worried, she asked, what if she gets suspicious? Jun Young's tone remained calm as he replied, just stick to the plan. Answer everything as we discussed. I'll wait for you at the usual spot. Don't be late. As the call ended, Yin stared at her phone, anxiety swirling in her chest. How am I supposed to stay calm? She thought. The next day, at the Kong house, Mrs. Kong greeted her with a disappointed tone. How could Jun Young leave you alone like this? Awkwardly, Yoon Seol responded. He had an urgent matter to attend to, so I came alone. Mrs. Kong studied her for a moment, then said, Tae-kyung already told us about the marriage, but you're still in college. Isn't this a bit rushed? Yoon straightened her posture and replied firmly, We've decided to keep it a secret until I graduate. Suspicious, Mrs. Kong pressed further, her tone slightly sharp. How long have you two been dating? And why didn't you inform us earlier? Sensing the tension, Yoon tried to ease her concern. We're really serious about this, she said, her voice steady. Mrs. Kong seemed to calm slightly, her expression softening. It's not that I dislike you, she said thoughtfully. I just have a few questions. She looked directly at Yoon, her gaze serious. Do you really love my son? Trying her best to appear sincere, Yoon replied, Yes, I love him with all my heart. Mrs. Kong narrowed her eyes and asked again, Does Jun Young love you? Yoon Seol froze, her mind racing for an answer. Before she could respond, a familiar voice interrupted. Mom, shouldn't you be asking me that? Startled, Yoon turned as Jun Young entered the room, wrapping his arm around her shoulders and pulling her close, trapping her in his embrace. He addressed Mrs. Kong. I told you we love each other. What more should I do to convince you? He looked down at Yoon, a playful smile tugging at his lips. Mom isn't asking you anything strange, is she, honey? Awkwardly, Yoon Seol shook her head and replied, No, she's just worried about you. Mrs. Kong observed the exchange quietly, her worry deepening. As they left the house, Yoon complained, Did you really need to act like that? She said, her tone frustrated. Jun Young replied casually, How else will Mom believe us? You didn't need to hug me, she retorted. He smirked slightly. You should have seen your face when she asked you those questions. You looked so awkward, especially when I hugged you. She huffed. How can I not be awkward? We barely know each other, and you didn't even warn me beforehand. As they reached her home, she muttered a polite thanks and tried to get out of the car, but before she could, Jun Young caught her hand and pulled it to his lips, pressing a kiss to it. It seems like we need to practice, he said with a teasing smile. Her eyes widened, and her face turned crimson. Practice? She murmured, flustered. Yes, practice, he replied. We need to look like a real couple every chance we get. She yanked her hand away and shot back. No, we don't need that. I can manage just fine. He teased, see? You're already confused, just like now. Leaning closer, he hovered over her, his gaze playful, especially when her face grew even redder as the heat rose to her cheeks. Panicked, she pushed him back. I said I don't need it, she exclaimed before hurriedly getting out of the car. As she was leaving, her phone rang. Seeing it was her grandfather, she answered quickly. On the other end, Her grandfather's voice was warm and amused. You should have told me earlier, and I would have agreed to your marriage then and there. Hearing his happiness, a smile tugged at her lips, though a pang of nervousness hit her. It's too late to back out now, she thought. After the call ended, she turned back toward the car. Leaning down through the window, she said, well, let's practice then. Inside the car, as she leaned closer to him, she asked hesitantly, do we really need to practice kissing? He glanced at her, his eyes glinting with mischief. What do you think? Without waiting for an answer, he grabbed her by the neck and gently cupped her face. The next second, his lips captured hers. She froze, her eyes wide with shock as the moment stretched. Their kiss deepened, drawing her further into it. After what felt like an eternity, Jun-young pulled back with a small smile. That was a wedding kiss, he said casually, brushing his thumb against her lips. We're getting married soon, so it's only right to practice for it, don't you think? Still flustered, she nodded wordlessly and quickly left. Inside the car, Jun-young leaned back, rubbing the back of his neck. His cheeks flushed slightly as he replayed what had just happened. The next day, at college, as Yoon-se glanced at her friends, she recalled her conversation with Jun-young. We're keeping it a secret, but can I tell one of my friends? I need someone to be there for me, she had asked, and he had agreed. Looking at her friends now, she hesitated, unsure who to confide in. Later, as she walked with Yin-gun, she gathered her courage and said, I need to talk to you about something. Yin-gun grinned teasingly. What is it? Are you getting married or something? Awkwardly, Yin replied, actually, yeah. Yin-gun froze, her eyes wide in shock. What? Who? Not wanting anyone else to overhear, Yoon-se led her to a quiet spot. Once they were alone, she took a deep breath and said, I'm going to marry Mr. Kong. Yin-gun pointed at her accusingly. I knew it. I knew something was going on between you two. Sure, keep it down, Yin whispered, trying to calm her. Only you know about this, so please keep it a secret. Her friend nodded and hugged her tightly. Congratulations. You finally found a way. But after a moment, Yin-gun's smile faded into concern. But why is he proposing marriage? What's his reason? Yin-se decided to be honest. He's the same as me. He needs the status and doesn't want to waste time. Yin-gun thought for a moment before asking, wait, could it be that he's the one who saved you from all those blind dates before? Before Yin-se could answer, Yin-gun grinned mischievously. He's like your white knight, isn't he? Riding on a white horse to save the day? As Yin-gun's imagination ran wild, Yin-se rolled her eyes, but before she could respond, Su-kun appeared behind them. What are you two whispering about? He asked cheerfully, leading them toward the campus cafe. In a coffee shop, Jun-young sat quietly, sipping his coffee as he glanced outside. His eyes caught a group of 3 people approaching the cafe, laughing together. His gaze lingered on the one person among them he was about to marry, Yoon-se. Her bright smile lit up her face, and for a moment, he couldn't tear his eyes away. Suddenly, a voice interrupted his thoughts. Jun-young. He turned to see Su-yoon standing nearby. Hello, Su-yoon, he replied calmly. Su-yoon took a seat beside him with a cheerful smile. If I'd known you were coming here, I would have joined you earlier, she said casually. As they chatted, the group entered the cafe. Spotting Su-yoon, Su-kun waved enthusiastically. Su-yoon. Oh, and Mr. Kong is here too, he said, his voice full of surprise. Su-kun turned to Jun-young with excitement. We're going out to eat. Would you and Su-yoon like to join us? Jun-young glanced at Yoon-se, who was subtly signaling him to decline the invitation. A smirk tugged at his lips as he ignored her silent plea. Turning back to Su-kun, he replied, okay, I'll join. Great, let's go now, Su-kun said, his excitement evident. As they sat in the restaurant, Yoon-se couldn't shake the discomfort of Jun-young's presence. The atmosphere felt tense, and she couldn't relax. Su-kun, as usual, offered her a half-cooked egg, a gesture he always made when they ate together. You like this, right? He said, placing on her plate. Jun-young noticed the gesture, his gaze lingering on them. Noticing his stare, Su-kun explained with a cheerful smile. Yoon-se is from Gaj Island. She loves eggs on top. It's a thing there. Jun-young smiled lightly. Oh, I didn't know that, he said, turning to Yoon-se. When did you move to Seoul then? Before Yoon-se could answer, Su-kun chimed in again. She moved here when college started. Before that, she was living in Gaj with her grandfather. Yoon felt awkward and thought, why can't he just shut his mouth? Her thoughts were interrupted when Su-kun took food from her bowl with his chopsticks. Frustrated, she snapped, hey, don't use your chopsticks in my food. Here, take all of it now. Su-yoon, observing their exchange, laughed. Oh, you two have such a cute bond. Su-kun grinned, putting his arm around Yun's shoulders. Yeah, we're really close friends. Jun-young remained silent, his expression unreadable as he watched the interaction. Yun, however, felt something wasn't right. Yin-gun sighed quietly, thinking about how strange the situation felt. After finishing their meal, Su-kun and Su-yun excused themselves, waving goodbye as they left for their club activities. The remaining 3 waved back, and Yin-gun, sensing the tension, spoke up. I think it's better if I head out too. Yin-se wanted to leave with her, but before she could, Jun-young grabbed her bag from behind, stopping her. Noticing this, she simply said, okay, you go first. Once the others were gone, Jun-young looked at her and said bluntly, you should have told me earlier that you have a boyfriend. It's uncomfortable for me. Irritated, Yin snapped, he isn't my boyfriend. She glared at him and added, and why did you even agree to come? Jun-young replied calmly, We agreed to keep our relationship secret on campus, but that doesn't mean we don't know each other. I was just being natural in front of my students. Looking at him, Yin thought, I know it's not a real marriage, but how can he stay so calm? As he started to leave, he commanded, come with me to the car. Feeling a pang of sadness, she thought, what do I even expect from someone like Mr. Kong? Suddenly, he extended his hand toward her. Shocked, she asked what? He replied smoothly, we should practice whenever we have the opportunity, right? She hesitated, staring at him for a moment. Finally, she placed her hand in his. As they walked together, hand in hand, she thought, after all, this relationship is supposed to be without feelings, right? Determined, she resolved, if he can be cold, then so can I. When they reached the car, Junyoung opened the door and commented, I notice you're still uncomfortable holding hands. Then, with a slight smirk, he added, you should be skilled at this by now, considering you've kissed 108 times. Yoon Se glared at him, unsure whether to be angry or just let it slide. Deciding there was no harm in following along, she replied simply, sorry. Trying to improve, she grabbed his hand again and asked, like this? Or maybe like this? Experimenting with different ways to hold hands, she added, which one looks more romantic? Junyoung intertwined his fingers with hers, holding her hand firmly. Like this, he said with a steady gaze. Yoon Se looked at him, feeling the warmth of his hand. For a moment, she didn't know how to respond, her heart fluttering despite herself. As Yoon Se chatted with Yoon Gun, her friend expressed concern about the nature of her marriage. It's legally binding, but it's still not real. How long do you two plan to keep pretend? Yoon Gun asked seriously. Yoon Se thought to herself, she's right. I need to come up with a plan. She pondered. Junyoung is a successful businessman. It's unlikely he hasn't thought all of this through. But what about me? Am I just going to follow his steps without considering my own? The next day, inside Junyoung's car, she handed him a paper. What's this? He asked, his brow furrowing. It's a letter of agreement, she replied confidently. You take one copy. It's a marriage agreement to make sure neither of us is at a disadvantage. Junyoung examined the paper carefully. That's correct, he murmured, reading through the points. The first point, maintaining confidentiality about the marriage, makes sense, but marital status would be a better term. It's clearer that way. He glanced at her. I don't have a problem with the first point, but if you're telling one of your friends, I'll tell one of mine. Moving on, he read the second point, behaving appropriately. I'm okay with this one too. Then he got to the third point. Personal lives are separate, he read aloud. Before he could comment, she interrupted. Yes, we're not actually married, so we're free to do as we please. He smirked, raising an eyebrow. So, you can go out with your boyfriend? Her glare sharpened. It's not like that. His eyes twinkled mischievously as he continued reading. I disagree with the fourth point, he said suddenly. How will our families believe us if we're not affectionate in front of them? She explained firmly, it doesn't have to be all the time, and you need to inform me beforehand. He shook his head. That's not practical. We'll need to improvise, but we're not going to meet often, she countered. We can plan ahead. He leaned back casually, dropping a bombshell. Oh, I forgot to mention, after we're married, my mother wants us to stay at the family house until you graduate. It's one of her conditions. Her eyes narrowed. And you're telling me this now? Ignoring her irritation, he continued. That's why points 4 and 5 should be removed. As for point 6 foot, he paused, glancing at her. If your grandfather passes away, there's no longer any benefit for you. So I understand. Her frustration boiled over. Why does 5 have to be removed? I think it's unnecessary, he replied simply. Leaning closer, his smirk deepened as he asked, what do you think I'd do? Do something to you? He paused, his gaze piercing. Are you afraid of being swayed? Her cheeks flushed with anger as she glared at him. Fine, she gritted out, crossing out 4 but 5 stays. I'll modify 4 instead. She handed him the revised agreement. He read it aloud, not sleeping in the same beads. She replied firmly, this marriage is business, not emotional, right? Without further argument, he grabbed the paper and signed it. She watched him seriously before saying, once you're done, close your eyes. He frowned slightly, confused. Why? Before he could process her words, he noticed her leaning toward him, her eyes closed. He froze, his mind racing. She opened her eyes slightly, realizing his hesitation. Flustered, she grabbed his cheeks. Sorry, I forgot to take off my hat. I was just practicing the wet. Before she could finish, he reached out, removed her hat, and tossed it aside. In one swift motion, he leaned in, cupping her face. A wedding kiss, he murmured, his voice low, is initiated by the groom. Her heartbeat quickened as he drew closer, his gaze locked onto hers. Her breath hitched as he pressed his lips to hers, the kiss deepening as they both became lost in the moment, realizing its significance. As the days passed and the wedding day drew closer, Yunse's phone buzzed constantly with updates, bookings for venues, arrangements for the ceremony, and countless details. She visited each place with Junyoung's mother, whether it was shopping for their bedroom, tasting wedding cakes, or trying on wedding dresses. One afternoon, as she slipped into her wedding dress and stood before the mirror, a wave of realization hit her. This marriage, though a contract for mutual benefit, was still very real. She stared at her reflection, her emotions swirling. The ceremony was set to take place at their family home on Gaj Island. Walking through the garden, she noticed the flurry of preparations, the decorations, the flowers, the tables being set, but she couldn't understand why she didn't feel happy inside. Inside the house, her aunt approached her with a concerned expression. Where's Junyoung? I haven't seen him yet, her aunt said, sighing. He should be here by now. Hearing those words, a pang of unease struck Yun's heart, and emptiness she couldn't quite define began to settle over her. Suddenly, someone called her name. She turned toward the door, and there he was, her husband-to-be, standing with his luggage, his face calm but welcoming. Relief washed over her as she saw him, her heart unexpectedly lifting. Noticing her expression, Jun-young walked over, gently taking the box she was holding. Sorry, he said. I came without letting you know. Before they could continue, her aunt appeared, and Yun quickly introduced her to Jun-young as her aunt. As Jun-young and her aunt chatted about the upcoming ceremony, Yun's gaze lingered on him without realizing it. A smile began to form on her face. She felt a genuine sense of calm and happiness. At night, at the Choi house, everyone gathered around the dinner table, casually chatting. Yun's aunt scolded her gently. You need to eat more, or you'll faint on your wedding day. Yun protested. I can't eat too much. Aunt, my dress won't fit. Jun-young, sitting nearby, interjected with a calm assurance. Don't worry, Aunt. After we're married, I'll make sure she eats plenty. Yun-se nodded. See? Now you can relax. Her aunt smiled warmly, commenting, it's no surprise that Yun-se said she fell in love at first sight. Hearing this, Jun-young raised an eyebrow and turned to her. Oh, really? She never told me that. Her grandfather chimed in with a chuckle. That's just how she is. She doesn't always say what she feels, but she will love you wholeheartedly. Later, as Yin prepared a room for Jun-young, he entered with his luggage. Glancing around, he asked, is this your room? Yeah, she replied. I'll sleep in my aunt's room tonight. If this feels uncomfortable, then I'm sorry, she added hesitantly. It's fine, he replied simply. She asked softly, why didn't you tell me earlier you were coming? I would have prepared a better room for you. He looked at her for a moment, then raised his hand and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Because my future wife didn't bother contacting me the day before our wedding. What else could I do but come find her myself? Caught off guard, she looked at him, and he smiled faintly. Thank you for coming, she said sincerely. Jun-young's smile deepened as he leaned closer, pressing a light kiss to her forehead. Pulling away, he said softly, good night, my bride. Her heart unexpectedly fluttering. On the wedding day, everything was set for the ceremony to begin. As Jun-young got ready, his friend remarked, I can't believe you're getting married. A few days ago, you were going on blind dates arranged by your mom. Who's the bride anyway? With a smirk, Jun-young replied, definitely not someone I met on a blind date. His friend's tone turned serious. Then who? Ignoring the question, Jun-young knocked on the door of the room where Yun-se was getting ready. Her friend opened the door and said, she's not ready yet, but Jun-young persisted. I'll only be a moment, he assured her. Stepping inside, he called out, Yun-se? But as he looked up, he froze, his eyes widening. Standing there was Yun-se, dressed as a stunning bride in her wedding gown. Noticing his stare, she asked, yes? Realizing he had been standing silently for too long, Jun-young cleared his throat and gestured to his friend. This is my business partner and groomsman. I thought I'd introduce him. She bowed politely to the man and then introduced her friend to Jun-young's friend. After exchanging pleasantries, Jun-young reminded his friend, since this is a secret marriage, don't let anyone at the office find out. His friend nodded. Got it. Yun's friend added, me too. I'll leave you two for now. Before leaving, they both advised, just relax, okay? After the door closed, Yun looked at Jun-young nervously. Do we really look that tense? Jun-young replied confidently, I'm not. Are you? Of course I am, she exclaimed. If our act gets exposed, my grandfather will be devastated. Placing a hand on her chest, she added, so this is what it feels like. No wonder people sometimes run away on their wedding day. Jun-young stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. So, as they suggested, should we practice kissing to relax? He leaned in, his face drawing closer to hers, their lips just inches apart. But if we do, you'll have to redo your makeup, he teased with a smirk. Flustered, she pushed him away. Why are you always thinking about kissing? You're such a pervert. Jun-young chuckled, stepping back with an amused smile. See? Now you're not nervous anymore, are you? She stood there, bewildered, watching him leave. What just happened? She thought, her heart racing. Under the soft shadow at the wedding venue, Jun-young stood waiting for his bride, his gaze fixed on the path ahead. Soon, she appeared Yun-se, holding her grandfather's hand, walking slowly and shyly toward him. As their eyes met, her heartbeat quickened, and she instinctively looked down, unable to hold his gaze. Jun-young, however, remained composed, his eyes never leaving her as she approached. When they finally reached him, Jun-young, unable to wait any longer, extended his hand toward her. Her grandfather glanced at his outstretched hand, then gently placed Yun's hand into Jun-young's, sealing the moment with a silent gesture of trust. The ceremony continued, and as they exchanged rings, their families couldn't contain their happiness, smiles lighting up their faces. Suddenly, the groomsman announced, now it's time for the kiss to seal the wedding vows, making Yun-se tense visibly. Jun-young whispered softly, now's the time to show the results of our practice. Relax, you look stiff. As he reached up to remove her veil, she whispered back nervously, but we didn't practice in front of this many people. He chuckled lightly, his smile reassuring. Just close your eyes, he whispered. She glanced at him with wide eyes before slowly closing them, trusting his words. Jun-young leaned in, his face mere inches from hers, and in the next moment, their lips met, sealing their wedding with a kiss. The crowd erupted in applause, and with that kiss, they were officially declared Mr. and Mrs. Kong. And that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. If you're excited for the next chapter, let me know by dropping a comment and hitting that like button. Your feedback helps me decide when to release the next one, so stay tuned, and I'll drop it soon. Their parents left. Yoon Seol and Junyoung bid them farewell, thanking them for everything. Once alone, an awkward silence filled the room. Breaking it, Junyoung asked, "Should you go take a bath first, or should I?" "Oh, you go first. I'll tidy up my things," Yoon Seol replied. "All right," Junyoung nodded, heading toward the bathroom. Left alone, she stood by the bed, lost in thought. Starting tonight, this room was theirs. The large bed was just enough for two, their clothes neatly arranged side by side, and all their shared items made the marriage feel undeniably real, especially with Junyoung's presence. Junyoung soon returned dressed in his nightwear. "I'm done. You can take a bath now," he said. "Did you finish tidying up?" "Yeah. Most of it was done by your mother already," she answered while opening a gift box from her friend Yongun. Noticing Junyoung's pajamas, she commented, "Oh, you're wearing the pajamas Aunt gifted." She insisted on matching sets. Suddenly, her eyes widened in shock as she opened the box further. Hurriedly, she slammed it shut. "What's that?" Junyoung asked curiously. "Oh, nothing. Just a gift from Gyeonggun," she replied awkwardly. "Is it for both of us?" "Let me see," he said, stepping closer. "You don't have to." Before she could finish, their tug-of-war over the box caused it to fly open, spilling its contents. A very revealing, sexy nightgown. "Hey, don't look. I didn't ask for it," she yelped, frantically picking it up. "I didn't say anything," Junyoung replied, smirking. "You seem nervous." "What exactly are you thinking, Yoon Seol?" She spun around, eyes wide. "Who's nervous?" she barked. "It's just my first time sharing a room with a man, so I'm being cautious." "You're the one who's nervous, afraid I'll do something, right?" Junyoung stepped closer, lowering his voice. "We're husband and wife. We can do it any time." He brushed his thumb against her lips. "How about it?" Her hands instinctively pressed against his chest. "How about what?" she stammered, face burning. Without another word, he leaned in, his lips grazing hers before sealing them in a deep kiss. Her eyes widened, but soon fluttered shut as she clutched his shirt. Caught in the moment, he opened his eyes mid-kiss, smirking when he noticed her reaction. Pulling back, he whispered, "Wait, everyone's still up, so we better not go beyond this." Her face turned crimson. "Who said anything about going beyond? Besides, it's in the contract. We're not sleeping in the same bed." He chuckled. "Well, it seems like we'll have to be patient until our honeymoon." Does this man ever listen? Yoon Seol thought, exasperated. As night deepened in the Kong household, Yoon Seol sat on the bed, sneaking glances at Junyoung, who sat on the sofa busy with his tablet. "Calm down, Yoon Seol. Newlyweds' first nights are special, but think of him as a roommate. He won't do anything," she reassured herself. "If you want to turn off the light, it's okay," Junyoung said casually. Glancing over, he noticed her already asleep, sitting upright on the bed. He stared for a moment before quietly raising the covers and wrapping his arms around her, laying her down comfortably. His gaze lingered on her serene face, his eyes drifting to her ample bosom and then to her slightly parted lips. He couldn't seem to look away, but eventually tucked the blanket around her securely and brushed her hair behind her ear. She stirred slightly, murmuring in her sleep before turning over and resting soundly. Morning came swiftly. The alarm rang loudly, jolting Yoon Seol awake. Sitting straight up, she thought, since when did I fall asleep? Looking toward the sofa, she saw it empty. "Don't tell me." She frantically checked the other side of the bed, but found it empty as well. "Where is he?" "Downstairs." She greeted her in-laws warmly. "Good morning, father." "Good morning, mother." "Oh, did you sleep well?" Mr. Kong asked kindly. "Good morning, dear." "Yes, we did." "How about you?" Before she could answer, Mrs. Kong interjected. "Where's Junyoung?" "I'm here," came a voice from behind. Turning around, they saw Junyoung looking like he had just returned from a run. "Oh, Junyoung," Mrs. Kong scolded. "Exercising on a day like this? You should be with your wife on her first day here." "Sorry, Mom," he said sincerely. "Go take a shower and come back down," she urged, pushing him gently toward the stairs. As he walked past, he glanced back and saw Yoon Seol chatting comfortably with his family. She also looked back, but only to see him leaving. "He's in the kitchen," Mrs. Kong mentioned. "Since you have classes to attend, you don't need to help with cooking, dear." "Oh, but I can help," Yoon Seol offered, feeling responsible. After finishing breakfast, Junyoung stood up. "Thank you for the meal. I'm off to work now." He turned to Yoon Seol, gently placing his hand on her waist. He whispered close to her ear, "You finished your breakfast, dear? I'll be going now." His family watched the affectionate display with warm smiles. Feeling flustered but playing along, Yunil lightly wrapped her arms around him. "I'm done, so I'll walk you to the front." Once outside, Junyoung smirked. "Your acting's getting better, Yunil. It almost looks natural." He paused, tilting his head. "Or are you starting to enjoy your new status?" Feeling self-conscious, she cautiously asked, "Not really, but I have to ask, did you really sleep on the sofa last night?" He put a hand on his shoulder, feigning a pained expression. "Yes, now my whole body's sore." "Do you think your husband is as filthy as a germ that you won't even sleep with me?" "That was part of the agreement," she barked. He glanced back, watching her reddening cheeks with amusement. His smirk deepened, thoroughly enjoying the anger in her expression. Later, as Yunil sat in the bus, Junyoung's words replayed in her mind. What does he mean by that, she wondered. Does he want me to feel uncomfortable, so I'll let him sleep on the same bed? She sighed. It's only the first day, and things are already this complicated. I didn't think becoming Kong Junyang's wife would be harder than I expected. He's so unpredictable. How should I behave around him? Can't he just act in a way that makes this marriage easier? Her gaze drifted to the wedding ring on her finger, and a realization struck her. She shouldn't wear her wedding ring at school. Stopping by a nearby shop, she bought a few fashion rings to wear instead. Now wearing multiple rings on her fingers, she headed to class. In the classroom, Soyeon asked Young-Yun, "You really haven't seen Yoon Seol?" Frustrated, she snapped, "How many times are you going to ask me that?" "No, I haven't." Just then, Yoon rushed in, breathing heavily. So immediately jumped from his seat. "Hey, Yoon, sit here," he called out, waving. As she settled in, he added, "I saved the seat for you." "Oh, thanks," she replied. "Where were you? It's so unlike you to be late. You look exhausted, so observed." "I'm fine," she said hesitantly. I moved houses." "Oh, where to?" he asked curiously. "It's a bit far, about 40 minutes away," she explained. "Why?" "Your old place was close to campus," he pressed further. Before she could answer, Jaeon chimed in. Her grandfather was really worried about her, so she's staying with relatives now. "Right. That's correct." Yunil agreed with an awkward smile. Noticing the rings on her fingers, Sukin grabbed her hand. "Since when did you start wearing rings?" he asked, curious. Before she could answer, he concluded with a grin. "Oh, you're following the latest trend, huh?" As they bickered playfully, Junyong entered the class, his sharp eyes noticing the scene before him. Late that night, Junyong returned home, unbuttoning his shirt as he entered the living room. "Do you always come home this late?" Yunil's voice startled him. "I thought you'd be asleep by now," he replied. "Not yet. I still have some assignments to finish," she explained. "Why don't you study in the study room? Or were you waiting for me?" he teased. "Don't flatter yourself. I told you I was studying," she retorted. "Do you always study this late?" he asked. "Not always," she admitted. "Tomorrow, don't wait for me. Just go to sleep," he said firmly. "I wasn't waiting," she countered. "Fine. Maybe you're studying, but it doesn't have to be this late," he added before heading to change. Her phone buzzed, and she turned. It was Son. She hurriedly declined the call. "Why didn't you answer?" Junyoung questioned. "It was an unknown number," she lied. The phone rang again. "Don't ignore it. If someone's calling this late, it could be urgent," Junyoung suggested. Reluctantly, she answered. "Hello, Yun." Sokin's voice came through. "Do you even know what time it is?" she scolded, frustrated. "I just wanted to chat," he admitted sheepishly. "If it's not urgent, I'm hanging up." "I'm moved, remember?" she reminded him. "Are you sharing a room with someone?" he asked suspiciously. Glancing at Junyoung, she replied, "Yes, I have a roommate. Don't call me randomly at night. Bye." Ending the call, she turned to Junyoung. "It wasn't urgent. I'm going to bed now." "Okay. About the roommate. Did you mean me?" he asked. "Well, more or less," she muttered. "Good night." He stood there speechless. The next morning, Junyoung went for his usual early morning run. Yunil woke up alone, glancing at the empty sofa. He wakes up so early and comes home so late. Is it really okay for him to sleep on the couch every night? She wondered, feeling guilty. Later that night, past 1 a.m., Junyoung returned quietly, noticing Yoon Seol fast asleep with her phone resting beside her. "For the past few days, I told you not to wait for me," he thought. "But when your roommate is here, you're talking to Sukin instead." His gaze darkened as he stared at the phone. Frustrated, he turned to change into his nightwear. After returning, he bent down to move her phone. Sensing movement, Yunil stirred. "Junyoung, are you home?" she whispered sleepily. Caught off guard, he replied. "Oh, this isn't what you think. I was just moving your phone." "I wasn't thinking anything," she assured him softly. "I just wanted to say, what if you didn't sleep on the couch?" He froze, surprised. "I thought about it," she explained. "It's inconsiderate to make you sleep on the couch every night. I only made that rule because I thought there'd be separate beds, but we only have one bed and it's not fair." Seeing him still frozen, she asked, "What's wrong? Are you sure?" "Of course, I won't do anything strange. I just don't want to make you uncomfortable," he said cautiously. Turning her face slightly, she replied, "I'm not afraid. It's just this position feels a bit awkward." She glanced back at him, noticing the faint smile forming on his lips. "But be warned, I have a habit of kicking in my sleep," she added playfully. Junyoung settled on the other side of the bed. Turning her back to him, she thought, "What am I doing letting him sleep here?" Closing her eyes, she reassured herself, "Relax, Yunil. Just think of it as camping at school." Suddenly, Junyoung pulled her gently into his arms from behind. "What are you doing?" she whispered sharply. He whispered back, "If we sleep like this, you won't kick me, and I don't want you moving to the sofa after I fall asleep." His warmth surrounded her, leaving her unable to argue. Slowly, she closed her eyes, letting herself relax as they both drifted into peaceful sleep in each other's embrace. Next morning, as Junyoung walked, memories of the previous night kept playing in his mind, bringing a small smile to his lips. Upon reaching home, he headed straight to the bedroom. "Yunil, what time is your class today? Should we go together?" he called out. However, the room was empty. He called for her and checked every part of the house, but she was nowhere to be found. Concerned, he asked his mother, "Oh, she mentioned having an assignment and left early. Didn't she inform you?" His mother replied casually. He stood there unable to respond. At college, Yoon Seol and Sokin walked together, sipping their coffee. "This is so refreshing," Yoon Seol commented. "Did you get enough sleep? Or did you have a fight with your roommate?" So teased. "Not really a fight. It's just that we slept together for the first time," she thought, recalling how unexpectedly comfortable she felt sleeping beside Junyoung. "His embrace made me feel safe." Feeling awkward about seeing him in the morning, she had deliberately left before he woke up. Suddenly, So asked, "Hey, your roommate, is she my type?" You're always taking advantage of every situation, Yun scolded disdainfully. What's wrong with being curious? I just want to know more about her, he defended. Yangun raised her hand and admitted, Oh, I've met her. Really? Tell me more about her. Soken urged eagerly. Well, she's both beautiful and handsome at the same time with black hair, she described thoughtfully. Soken turned to Yoon Seol. Please introduce me to her. We're friends, after all, he requested with a playful grin. At that moment, Junyong approached the group. Good afternoon, he greeted. Everyone except Yunil responded. Good afternoon, Mr. Kong. Their eyes met, and tension rose between them. So, unaware of their relationship, started chatting with Junyong, causing Gyeonggun to comment quietly. Looks like his wish came true. Meeting your roommate. Noticing Junyong's ring, Soken asked curiously, Mr. Kong, you're wearing a ring. Are you married? Startled, Yunil quickly turned back. Thinking fast, Gyeonggun interjected. Oh, if I'm not mistaken, that's a military service ring, right? Yes, I've seen it before, Yoon Seol added hurriedly, playing along. So, believing them, grabbed Yoon Seol's hand. People really fancy rings these days. See, Yoon Seol's wearing one too. Frustrated, she pulled her hand back. I told you last night that I've seen people wearing rings like this at the club, too, so added, still clueless. Junyong silently observed the interaction, his sharp gaze fixed on them. Noticing his intense stare, Yunil felt pressured. Is he angry? Is there something we need to discuss? She wondered. At home that evening, Yunil cautiously asked, Why were you wearing the ring today? Aren't you supposed to be covering it up? Aren't you wearing yours too? He countered. Yes, but I'm at least covering it up with other rings, she explained. Why? Are you afraid Soken will notice? He asked pointedly. Why you bring him up? She shot back. Because Junyong paused, realizing he shouldn't let emotions interfere in their contract marriage. Without another word, he grabbed her hand firmly. Never take off this ring, he commanded. Her eyes widened, her face flushing red at his intense behavior. Pulling her hand free, she barked. Why are you acting like this? Are you playing with my feelings or something? Playing with what? You're my wife. According to our contract, he retorted. You're the one who insisted on a marriage without emotions. Are you just following the contract? Or what about your feelings? She challenged. He froze, unable to find an answer. Later that night, as they lay in bed, Junyong reflected, Feelings? They're irrelevant. Everything I'm doing is just fulfilling my role as her husband. Plenty of couples survive without involving feelings. I should have said that, but why couldn't I? The next morning at breakfast, Mrs. Kong asked, Have you two planned your honeymoon yet? It's not good to delay it for too long after marriage. Junyong, don't be too busy. Take your wife on vacation. We're thinking of going to Guam, Yoon Seol replied. That's great, Mr. Kong exclaimed. So, when are you planning to go? At the beginning of summer? Mrs. Kong asked enthusiastically. Yes, that's right, Junyong agreed. We're still adjusting the dates based on my project, Yunil added. Then let's go shopping this weekend, Mrs. Kong suggested cheerfully. Hesitantly, Yunil nodded. Okay, Mom. Later at the mall, Yunil tried on a beautiful dress selected by Mrs. Kong. Mom, I think t-shirts and shorts are enough, she protested. You can buy what you want later, but I want to buy this for you. You look absolutely stunning in it, Mrs. Kong insisted warmly. Thank you, Mom, Yunil said sincerely. While we're out, shall we grab dinner together? Mrs. Kong suggested. Oh, I'd love that, Yunil replied excitedly. As they were leaving, someone called from behind. Yunil. Hi, Suk. They both turned, and Yunil froze, shocked to see Sujin standing there. Oh, it's really you. Long time no see, Auntie, Sujin greeted warmly. Her eyes drifted toward Yunil, widening in surprise. Yunil, what are you doing with Aunt Hai-suk? Yunil stood there frozen, struggling to respond. Oh, Sujin, it's you. I thought it was someone else, she stammered. But Mrs. Kong quickly recalled their agreement to keep the marriage a secret on campus. Aunt Hai-suk is my mom's friend, and we met by accident earlier, Yunil explained nervously. Oh, really? Did you know she's Mr. Kang's mother? Sujin asked. No, I didn't know that, Yunil lied. Later, Sujin asked Mrs. Kong. Aunt, can we have a meal together? Oh, sorry, but I already have plans with my family, Mrs. Kong replied politely. Oh, that means Junyang's coming too. Can I join you, Aunt? Sujin asked eagerly. Mrs. Kong hesitated, unsure how to respond. Sensing the tension, Yoon Seol quickly interjected. I'm sorry, but I have a group assignment due. I should leave now. Thank you for today, Aunt. She hurried off as Mrs. Kong called after her. Yunil. But Sujin interrupted. So, which restaurant are we going to, Aunt? Later, while waiting for the bus, Yunil thought, now what should I do? I can't head straight home because I told Junyang's mother I had a group assignment. She'll worry if I'm late. It's better to let her know I'll be home soon. Her mind drifted back to Sujin. I didn't realize Sujin was so close to Junyang's family. As she walked down the street, a car approached from behind. Yunil, I thought I saw you, Soken called out, stepping out of the car. What are you doing here? She asked, surprised. I was just dropping someone off at the dorm, he explained casually. He glanced at her outfit and teased. Why are you dressed like that? Were you on a blind date or attending a wedding? I was just out, she replied awkwardly. Where are you heading now? You haven't eaten dinner yet, right? Let's grab something together, he suggested enthusiastically, grabbing her hand and pulling her along. Meanwhile, at TJ Corp, Junyong sat at his desk, staring at his phone. His friend Minjin noticed and approached. What are you looking at? My mom sent me the restaurant's address, Junyong replied. Minjin chuckled. Isn't that place famous for dates? Maybe she wants you to join them since she's with Yoon Seol. Realizing the possibility, Junyong stood up abruptly. Thanks, Minjin, he said, leaving quickly. Yoon Seol didn't seem in a good mood earlier. Maybe this will cheer her up. At the restaurant, A hostess directed Junyoung to a private room. He entered, ready to surprise Yoon Seol. "Oh, Junyoung, you're here." Mrs. Kong greeted warmly. "Yes, Mom," he replied, taking a seat. He turned and blinked in surprise. "Sujin, what are you doing here? Weren't you shopping, Mom?" Sujin smiled brightly. "We bumped into each other earlier. We even saw Choi Yoon Seol, but she left. You know her, right?" she added casually. Junyoung's expression darkened as he quickly pulled out his phone. He typed a message to Yoonil. "Where are you? Are you okay? Should I come pick you up?" Unable to suppress his worry, he abruptly stood up. "I'm sorry, but something urgent just came up." He excused himself, leaving hurriedly while dialing her number. When Yoonil finally answered, he spoke sharply. "Yoonil, are you okay? I called you so many times." She sounded calm on the other end. "I'm in front of the campus. I'll be a little late, meeting with a friend before heading home." Junyoung's shoulders tensed as he heard a familiar voice in the background. "So, she's with Soken, and here I was worried about her. But why do I feel so unsettled?" At the restaurant, Soken excused himself to wash his hands while Yoon Seol sat alone. "Thank you, Soken," she called out. "No problem. We're friends, Yoon Seol," he replied cheerfully. As she waited, her eyes fell on her wedding ring. Hesitating for a moment, she slowly slipped it off, placing it in her bag. Looking at her now bare finger, she thought, "This is the first time I've taken it off. It feels strange, but what else can I do?" When the food arrived, she called out, "So, hurry up. The food's here." Suddenly, she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Finally, I found you, Choi Yoon Seol." Her eyes widened in shock, frozen mid-reach for her chopsticks. Junyoung stood there, slightly out of breath, his intense gaze fixed on her. "Why is he here?" she wondered, her heart pounding. As they settled at the table, Soken remarked, "Oh, I didn't expect Mr. Kong to eat here. Sorry if I'm disturbing your date," Junyoung said politely. "Oh, it's not a date. I just happened to see Yoonil walking alone on the street, looking down, so I invited her here." So clarified. "You're a good friend," Junyoung commented. Feeling embarrassed, Yoonil snapped. "If you keep talking, I'll just go home." "Oh, Yoonil, eat first," Soken urged, offering her food with his chopsticks. "I can eat by myself," she mumbled, stealing glances at Junyoung, who sat there with a darkened expression. As they left the restaurant, Soken offered, "Let me drop you off. Your house is too far." "I can just take the bus," she replied. "What if I drive you there?" "It seems Yoonil's house is in the same direction as mine," Junyoung suggested. "Mr. Kong, do you know where she lives?" "Even I don't know," Soken asked curiously. "You're making it too obvious." Yoonil thought nervously. "No, I've just seen Yoonil around my area," Junyoung replied smoothly. "Oh, that's great. Could you please drop her off then?" So asked excitedly. "Is he too innocent or what?" Yoon Seol wondered. "Of course," Junyoung replied, smiling. "In that case, I'll leave first. My car's parked far," so said as he waved goodbye. As he left, Junyoung turned to Yoon Seol. "Let's go home then. You go first." "I'll come later," she insisted. "I didn't come here to leave alone," he stated firmly. "Then why did you come?" "To make everyone uncomfortable," she retorted. "What can I do?" "You didn't answer my calls and went with another guy instead," he shot back. "He's not another guy. He's my friend." "What about Sujin then?" she asked, visibly annoyed. "Are you jealous? Is that why you didn't join us for dinner?" he questioned, his eyes narrowing. "Jealous of what?" "I didn't go because I wanted to keep our marriage secret and not make things difficult for Mom," she replied. Turning slightly, she added, "I don't like the smell of meat on my clothes, so I'll just walk around until Mom falls asleep." As she walked alone down the street, Junyoung stood there, watching her retreating figure. Suddenly, he stepped forward and caught up to her, intertwining their fingers, startling her as she met his sharp gaze. Blushing, she thought, "Why is he acting like this? And why am I happy?" As they entered a nearby park, she mused, "Was he thinking every time he touches me like this? Is he holding my hand just to keep me from walking away? Should I let go?" When she attempted to pull her hand back, he tightened his grip. Raising their clasped hands, he asked, "Did you take off your ring?" Startled, she quickly explained, "I wasn't wearing any other rings, so I took it off just to be cautious." She fumbled through her bag and showed him the ring. Without a word, he gently took the ring from her and slid it back on her finger. Her cheeks burned as he tightened his grip on her hand again, leading her further into the park. "Junyoung, look here," she called out, dashing toward a bed of roses. Inhaling their scent, she beamed. "Junyoung, come here. They smell so nice." He stood still, watching her with softened eyes. "I've been thinking lately. I hope to be the person you seek when you need a place to run. I want you to smile, just for me. I want to know everything about you." I try to hold back these feelings, but it's hard because my body moves on its own. It's like butterflies trying to escape their cage. Is this the feeling Yoon Seol meant? "The smell of roses is the same as home," she mused. "When I left home, the same scent lingered on me, but I guess I spent too much time at the restaurant." She leaned closer to him, sniffing lightly. "Oh, you still smell like roses?" she noted. Looking up at him, she asked, "Can you smell the roses?" "It's on me too." His gaze darkened with intensity. "I don't want to let you go. Not to anyone else." Leaning in until only a breath separated their lips. "I want to have you completely." Before she could respond, he sealed her lips with his, surprised but willing. She kissed him back, wrapping her arms around him as he pulled her closer. Lost in each other's embrace, they felt warmth and happiness replacing all the uncertainties that had weighed on them. Finally, smiles appeared on their faces, as if the butterflies they'd both kept caged had finally been set free. As summer vacation arrived, they finally headed for their honeymoon. Sitting beside Junyoung on the flight, Yoon Seol thought, sitting next to him for hours isn't easy, especially after that night. A few weeks had passed, but nothing significant happened between them since. They hadn't even talked about the kiss. Were there any real feelings behind it? She wondered. An air hostess approached Junyoung. Sir, do you need anything? She asked. No, I'm fine, he replied politely. As she walked away, Junyoung leaned toward Yunil. A little help here, please. I keep getting the same question again and again. Well, what can I do? Your mom gave birth to such a good-looking son, she teased. He gently grabbed her hand and laid her head on his chest. What I mean is stay like this. She glanced at their intertwined hands for a moment before closing her eyes, finding comfort in his presence. When they arrived in Guam, Yunil gasped at their hotel room. Wow, this room is amazing. I can see the ocean from here, and there's even a jacuzzi. Perfect. She rushed excitedly toward the bedroom, but froze when she saw a bed decorated with flowers, radiating a clear honeymoon vibe. Before she could react, Junyoung entered, carrying their bags. Seeing her standing stiffly, he approached her, concerned. Yunil, why are you standing there? Oh, nothing. The bedroom is just really impressive, she stammered. So, where do you want to go next? He asked casually. I'll go wherever you go, she replied quickly. Let's check this out first, he suggested, grabbing her hand and leading her outside. As they stood by the ocean, Yoon Seol sighed contentedly. It's so beautiful. You could sip soda and watch the sunset forever. I want to live here. I didn't expect you to enjoy this honeymoon so much, he teased. It's a vacation. How could I not enjoy it? She replied playfully. Besides, I'm just happy we finally got to go on our honeymoon. What do you mean? He asked, tilting his head. We were so busy, we never really had a chance to talk. I want to be closer to you, she admitted, her eyes soft with affection. He stared at her, taking in her sincerity, then smirked teasingly. You're not talking about the honeymoon night, are you? Embarrassed, she turned and walked back toward the room. Never mind, forget it. Maybe I'm the only one thinking this way. Not Junyoung. Am I just a toy to him? She thought sadly. Before she could step away, Junyoung grabbed her hand. Yunil, I'm sorry. I was just joking. I was joking too. This honeymoon is just a formality, right? She replied, forcing a smile. No. He pulled her into a tight embrace. I want to be close to you two. They held each other quietly, savoring the moment. Later inside the hotel room, Junyoung called out, Are you ready yet? What your mom bought is nice, but I don't feel comfortable wearing this, she replied from the bathroom. Why not? He asked while unbuttoning his shirt. When no answer came, he walked over and opened the bathroom door without warning. Don't just barge in like that, she snapped, flustered. His face turned red as he saw her in a striking red swimsuit. Didn't I tell you to wait? And why are you walking around shirtless? She demanded. He quickly grabbed a towel and wrapped it around her. We're going swimming. Don't wear this. Wear something else. But your mom gave it to me, she explained. It's fine. She's not here to see, he insisted. Looking away, she said shyly, but I didn't bring any other swimsuit. How about relaxing in the jacuzzi instead? If it's just you, I don't mind. Junyoung's face flushed even deeper. He turned abruptly. No, let's just buy another swimsuit. You said you were uncomfortable, right? Later, they strolled hand in hand by the ocean, enjoying the view in each other's presence, sitting together, sipping drinks. Junyoung asked, Is Gyeong-gun your childhood friend? Yes. She knows everything about me, even things my grandfather doesn't know, she replied. So I could ask her about all your secrets? He teased. You could, or you could just ask me. What do you want to know? She challenged. Wrapping his arm around her waist, he leaned in. I want to know everything. Her cheeks turned pink, but before she could respond, she spotted people from their home country. What if someone recognizes us? She whispered, worried. We're far from home, he reassured her. Still uneasy, she stood up. I need to use the restroom. I'll be back soon, she said and left. In the restroom, Yoon Seol stood thinking. Is he mad that I left? She wondered. We've kissed before, but after that night, it feels different. She touched her chest where her heart pounded. Her mind drifted back to a conversation with Gyeong-gun. No one kisses just for practice, Gyeong-gun had said confidently. That's just an excuse. You're into each other, so you're saying Junyoung has feelings for me, too? Yoon Seol had asked uncertainly. Gyeong-gun had smiled knowingly. Junyoung, too? That means you have feelings for him. Wow. My friend Choi Yoon Seol is finally in love. Realizing her feelings, Yoon Seol hurried out. Jun, she called out but stopped abruptly, her eyes widening in shock. Sitting next to Junyoung was Sujin, holding onto his arm. Oh, Choi Yunil, you're here too. Did you come with Yongun? Sujin asked cheerfully. Yunil stood frozen, unable to process the sight before her, her heart sinking at their unexpected closeness. But soon coming to her senses, Yunil asked, Are you here for vacation too? Unfortunately, no. I'm here for a photo shoot. It should have been a vacation, though, Sujin replied with a sad face. But I won't be bored since Junyoung is here too. He even ordered me my favorite drink. See, she added happily, clinging to Junyoung. Isn't that my drink? Yunil thought. Suddenly, a staff member approached. Miss Sujin, please come. It's time to change your makeup. Sujin stood up, dragging Junyoung with her. Come, Junyoung, watch my photo shoot. People will be happy to see, but I have plans with someone else, he replied. Oh, with Yoon Seol? She asked. No, of course not. Bye, Sujin. Bye, Mr. Kong. Yunil quickly interjected, waving her hand. Junyoung glanced back at Yunil upon hearing her reply, his expression unreadable before Sujin dragged him away. Yunil stood there watching their disappearing figures. At the shooting site, a staff member asked Jun, Are you Sujin's friend or a model? No, I'm not a model, he replied. Just then, Sujin returned. How do I look? She asked Junyoung. He glanced at her with mild annoyance, but replied politely, You look good. Can I go now? Sorry, but I have other plans. Good luck with your photo shoot. Sujin grabbed his hand. What's the rush? Can't you stay and watch? She asked affectionately. Without hesitation, he turned and said firmly, No, I'm leaving now. He rushed back to the spot where he last saw Yoon Seol, calling out her name. But the area was empty. She was gone. Quickly returning to the hotel, he checked every room, the living area, the bedroom, even the bathroom, but she was nowhere to be found. Pulling out his phone, he heard it ring, but the sound came from the bathroom shelf. She'd forgotten her phone. Worry consumed him. Where did she go? She doesn't know anyone here. His mind filled with unanswered questions. Suddenly, the door creaked open. He turned sharply as Yuniel walked in, closing the door behind her. Yuniel, where were you? He asked, rushing toward her. Oh, I just want to buy a swimsuit, she explained. You should have informed me, he said, his voice still tense. How could I? Sujin was with you. You two were together for a while, but don't worry, I didn't misunderstand, she replied. He grabbed both her hands, causing the shopping bag to fall to the floor. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. I was worried, you know. Is this the feeling you were talking about? Choi Yoon Seol, he whispered into her ear. Her face flushed red at his words. Slowly, she raised her hands and wrapped them around him. They hugged passionately, feeling each other's warmth. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Hey, Junyoung. Sujin's voice called out from outside. Panicking, Yuniel turned her face away. Junyoung, that's Sujin. How could he interrupted? I didn't invite her. Let's stay like this. No need to care about her. Despite Sujin persistently knocking and calling out, they stayed still. After a while, Sujin wondered aloud. According to the receptionist, this is the right room, or maybe he's out, and eventually left. Realizing Sujin was gone, Yoon Seol asked, Junyoung, how could I not care about her? What do you mean? He asked. Isn't it risky if she sees us together? We nearly got caught earlier, she replied, worried. Are you that scared that people on campus will find out about our marriage? He questioned. It's not that, but if she finds out, she'll make a huge fuss. It's obvious she likes you, Yoon Seol admitted. I don't care about her, and I don't like her, he said firmly. And also, we are on our honeymoon, he added, brushing his thumb against her lips. So, just focus on me and forget about everyone else, he whispered, lifting her chin toward him. He leaned down, wrapping his arms around her waist. From now on, you are not allowed to go out without me, Choi Yoon Seol, he said possessively. Then he captured her lips in a deep kiss. She responded, wrapping one hand behind his neck and clutching his shirt with the other. As the kiss deepened, their passion ignited, leaving them breathless. His lips trailed down to her neck, placing passionate kisses, making her moan softly. When their eyes met again, she saw love, desire, and longing being reflected in his gaze. Overwhelmed by the intensity, she shyly turned her face to the side, her heart pounding. In the next moment, he swept her off the floor, wrapping her legs securely around his waist. Instinctively, she encircled her arms around his neck for support. His face drew closer, and he captured her lips in a passionate kiss. She clung tightly to him, her arms and legs holding him as if afraid to let go, surrendering to the intensity of the moment. With steady steps, he carried her toward the bedroom. Gently, he laid her down on the soft mattress, his body hovering just above hers. His eyes traced her delicate features, engraving every detail into his memory. Slowly, he intertwined his fingers with hers, pinning her hands gently against the bed. As the night unfolded, it became clear that this was far beyond a contract marriage. Morning came, sunlight streaming through the windows. Clothes lay scattered across the floor, and half-finished wine glasses rested on the table. Yuniel slowly opened her eyes. It's still early. Sleep more. I'll wake you up in an hour. Junyoung's voice murmured from above her. Realization dawned on her. She sat up quickly, pulling the blanket around her. He wrapped his arm around her from behind. Don't you remember? Or do we need to do it again? He teased. Leaning in, he placed a soft kiss on her forehead. Don't worry. I'm just teasing you. Although I wouldn't mind holding you a little longer, he added, pulling her closer into his embrace. She sank into his embrace, her head resting against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. It resonated through her, calming and grounding her in a way she couldn't explain. Slowly, she raised her face, wrapped her arms around his neck, and pressed her lips softly against his. For some reason, his heartbeat calms me. Makes me feel safe, she thought. It even feels like our hearts are in sync, as if we've become one. On their last day, Junyoung asked, have you packed everything? Noticing her standing outside alone, he approached and asked, what are you doing out here by yourself? I wanted to call Grandpa, Yuniel replied. Wrapping his arms around her from behind, he whispered, you shouldn't be out here alone. It'll only make him worry more. As the call connected, Grandpa asked warmly, how are you two? Meanwhile, her aunt playfully complained, why are you calling now? Only on your last day. Sorry about that, Junyoung answered smoothly. We were so caught up spending time together that we lost track of time. That's good, her aunt teased mischievously. Does that mean there might be a honeymoon baby soon? Junyoung chuckled, clutching in Seol closer. Don't worry, Aunt. We'll do our best. After exchanging goodbyes and well wishes, Junyoung waved toward the phone and said, don't worry, Grandpa. I'll take good care of Yuniel. Once the call ended, Yuniel smiled. Thank you, Junyoung. Grandpa looks really happy. And what about you? He asked softly, his gaze tender. Looking at the ocean, she replied, I'm happy too, seeing Grandpa that happy. I'm glad, he answered, his eyes filled with affection. Upon returning home, They visited Gyeonggun. You two really look like a couple fresh off a honeymoon, she teased. Stop teasing, Yunil groaned. But something feels different about you, Yunil. Don't tell me something happened during the honeymoon. Gyeonggun pressed with a knowing smirk. Just stop, Yunil muttered, avoiding her gaze. Junyoung smiled and asked, mind if I wait here for Minjin? Of course not, Gyeonggun replied. Turning mischievous, Junyoung added, can I ask you anything about Yunil while I wait? Annoyed, Yunil interrupted. Why don't you just ask me directly? Ignoring her, Gyeonggun smirked. Are you sure? What do you want to know? Is it true that Yunil has kissed 108 times? Junyoung asked with a playful glint in his eyes. 108 times? Did she really say that? Gyeonggun burst out, laughing. Gyeonggun, don't say anything. Yunil pleaded. That's impossible. She hasn't even dated anyone before, Gyeonggun revealed. Junyoung raised an eyebrow. Then what's the story behind the 108th kiss? Before Yunil could respond, Minjin arrived. Hey, Minjin, she greeted quickly. Hey, Yunil, Gyeonggun. Nice to see you. Sorry, but we have to go, Minjin said, gesturing for Junyoung to follow. All right, see you at home, Yunil said, practically pushing Junyoung out the door. As she returned, Gyeonggun couldn't resist. 108 kisses, she teased again. Stop teasing, Yunil groaned. But don't you think your husband deserves to know? Gyeonggun pressed, still laughing. By the way, did my gift come in handy during the honeymoon? Yunil flushed. Actually, something else happened. What? Gyeonggun asked, intrigued. Yunil explained everything about Sujin's sudden appearance during their honeymoon. I can't believe it. If it wasn't a coincidence, could Sujin really be stalking Mr. Kong? Gyeonggun speculated. Maybe it was just a coincidence since I haven't seen her since then, Yunil replied thoughtfully. But I need your help again. Do you mind? Of course not. What is it? Gyeonggun asked. Before Yunil could explain, her phone rang. It was Soken. I've got good news for you, he announced excitedly. What is it? She asked. Remember that blind date I went on? Well, I got offered an internship at her friend's company. Do you want to join me? He asked eagerly. Why are you only inviting her? Gyeonggun cut in. What are you even doing without me? I'm teasing back, so tease back. Meanwhile, Yoon Seol thought, it's not a bad idea. But do I need Junyoung's permission? Should I ask anyway? Later that night, Yoon Seol sat on the sofa, scrolling through the company details Soken had sent earlier. Junyoung entered the room, towel drying his hair. I thought you were asleep, he said. She turned, stunned. Why are you without clothes? She stammered, covering her face. Why is there a problem? This is my room, too, he replied, nonchalantly. He bent down and playfully pinched her cheeks, making her face puff up. Isn't it normal to see your roommate like this? He teased. Stop teasing me. Gyeonggun's been at it all day, she complained. Did she ask about her gift from before? He smirked. Yes, she did, Yunil admitted, blushing. So, do you regret not using it? He asked, leaning in closer. Wait, she yelped, placing her hand over his lips. There's something I want to talk about. I don't know if I need your permission, but I want to do an internship, she confessed. He paused, considering her words. Why? I want to spend the rest of my vacation doing something valuable, gaining experience, she explained earnestly. You can intern at TJ Corp, he suggested, sitting beside her and wrapping an arm around her shoulders. That's exactly what I don't want. I want to do it on my own, she insisted. You're really something, he said with a soft chuckle. All right, but first, you owe me a reward. What reward? Don't tell me TJ Corp charges employees like this, she shot back playfully. That's a good idea. Why didn't I think of that before? He teased, leaning even closer. Placing a finger on his lips, she declared, no way. You're not getting it that easily. Oh yeah, he smirked. Just try stopping me, he challenged, closing the distance. The next day, Yunil waited at a cafe. Soken rushed in, panting. Sorry, I'm late. I overslept. You could have texted me. She scolded. Forget that. We don't need to check the company details anymore, he announced excitedly. What happened? Did you change your mind? She asked. No, haven't you heard? Mr. Kang's company just opened an internship program. Since we scored the highest marks in the last test, we can join directly, he explained. Lucky that I was in your group, he added with a grin. Meanwhile, Yoon Seol's mind raced. This has to be Kang Junyoung's doing. I really underestimated him. He tricked me. Then, the next morning, Yoon Seol announced, Mother, Father, starting next week, I will begin my internship during vacation. Mrs. Kang looked concerned and asked, why are you out of money? Is Junyoung not giving you a credit card? Yunil smiled and replied, it's not like that, Mom. This internship will help me with my future career. Mr. Kang asked, which company are you planning to intern at? Let me know and I'll contact them for you. Flustered, Yunil grabbed Junyoung's hand for support and said, there's no need, Dad. Junyoung quickly explained, Yunil along with several other students will be interning at my company, so there's nothing to worry about, Dad. Hearing this, Mr. and Mrs. Kang looked relieved. As they approached the parking area, Yunil demanded, Junyoung, wait a minute. Don't you think you owe me an explanation? Junyoung opened the car door, turned to her, and said, there's nothing to explain. Yin tapped on the car door, closing it, and said, you deceived me. Yesterday, you said it was fine if I wanted to do an internship. Then why did you suddenly announce this internship program? Smirking, Junyoung replied, oh, about that. I never agreed to you interning at another company, and I'm not forcing you to intern at mine. Raising her chin gently, he added, I just want to keep being with my wife, that's all. Yunil puffed her cheeks, but realized there was no point in arguing. All right, but don't treat me differently from the other interns, she said firmly. He smiled and replied, okay, with pleasure. On the first day at TJ Corp, Young Mi, the supervisor greeted the interns. Welcome. So, a company focused on hotel and resort planning. In the near future, we'll be working on a hotel project in Yangon. Please assist us for the next month. Before we begin, does anyone have any questions? Soon raised his hand. I have one, he said. Yes, please, Yonggi replied. How old are you, miss? He asked, making everyone uncomfortable. Awkwardly, Yonggi responded. Just ask a question related to work. Okay. Suddenly, a woman entered the room and said, please save personal questions for after work. Everyone turned toward her. Yomi introduced her. This is Yun Hai-young, the secretary to Mr. Kong. The group greeted her. Good morning. She replied, good morning. Who is Yoon Seol and Sukyeon? Mr. Kong has called for you both. As they walked through the office, Yoon Seol thought, so this is what Jin Young's company looks like. Yun Hai-young opened the office door and announced, Mr. Kong, they're here. She indicated for them to enter. Thank you, Secretary Yun. So said as they entered, Yun-se noticed Jin Young sitting at his desk working. This is my first time seeing his office and how he works, she thought. Jin Young looked up and said, welcome to SV. I hope your internship here provides you with valuable knowledge and experience. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Kong. So replied, we'll make the most of it. Yunil and I almost interned at another company. Ji Young's expression darkened. Oh, were you planning to intern together? He asked. Definitely. Yunil is like a lost girl without me. So Kian teased. Jun Young grabbed his tablet and said, okay. You can ask anything to Secretary Yin. You may start your work now. As they left the office, Yun Seol glanced back at Jin Young, who was already focused on his work. Why is he so cold? Or she wondered. Later, as Yunil searched for a file, Sukin asked, what are you looking for? Miss Yonggi asked me to find last year's hotel project file, but I haven't found it yet, she replied. Picking up a file, Sukin said, oh, this one. I've checked them all. How did I miss it? She puzzled, tapping the file lightly on her head. Soon teased. You must have lost focus because you haven't eaten. I'll eat after giving this file to Miss Yomi, she replied, realizing he might have tapped her too hard. So patted her head and asked, did I hit you too hard? Just put your hand away, she said irritably. Not far away. Junyoung observed the interaction, visibly annoyed. Sorry, Yun. Move the 4 o'clock meeting to 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, he ordered as he walked past with his subordinates. Noticing him, Yun greeted, good afternoon, bowing politely. Junyoung walked past her without responding, as though he hadn't seen her. Did he just ignore me? She wondered wide-eyed. Turning back with annoyance, she saw Junyoung greet another employee who had bowed to him. I asked him not to treat me differently. But is it really so hard to return my greeting, or even smile? She thought irritably. The next day, as Yun Seol sat at her desk, she overheard 2 colleagues talking. Hey, I was in the same elevator as Director Kong this morning, and he held the door for me. He looks cold, but he's kind, one of them said. Yeah, whoever becomes his wife will be lucky. Do you think I have a chance? The other joked. Hearing their conversation, Yun thought. So, he's being nice to other people. But ever since that day, he hasn't returned my greetings or treated me like an employee. It's so hard to meet him since he's always busy, and he only reaches out when it suits him. I knew it. Interning at Junyoung's office was a mistake from the start. Just then, Youngie called out, Yuni, could you help me buy some coffee? Sure, Yunio replied. As she passed by Young's office, she glanced at it but thought, focus on your work, Yunio. No need to overthink this. At the elevator, as the doors began to close, she called out, wait. The doors opened, and she stepped in, thanking whoever held them. But when she looked up, her eyes widened. It was Junyoung. He stared at her and asked, are you coming or not? Yes, she replied, stepping into the elevator. As they stood silently, the tension grew unbearable. Unable to hold back, she asked, Junyoung, are you mad at me? Why would you think that? Besides, aren't you hiding something from me? Why didn't you tell me you were planning to intern with Sukin from the start? He countered. Frustrated, she grabbed his hand. Why are you bringing him up again? Are you suspecting me? Is that why you're angry and avoiding me? Turning slightly, he replied, do you think there's a husband whose feelings wouldn't be hurt seeing his wife constantly with another man? Before she could respond, the elevator stopped, and the doors opened. Hello, Mr. Kong. And hello, Yun Seol. Sukin greeted with a grin. Jin Young exited the elevator saying, hello, Sukin. I'll leave first. As Sukin turned to Yun Seol, he noticed her tears. Yin, are you crying? Are you hurt? He asked worriedly. Hearing this, Jun Young turned back to look at her, but the elevator doors closed. What have I done? Jun Young thought, feeling guilt overwhelm him. He turned and rushed toward the staircase, thinking, why did I leave her with Sukin? When he reached the floor, he saw Yun Seol and Sukin buying coffee together. He stood frozen, unable to approach. Just then his phone rang. After listening briefly, he replied, okay, I'll be there. Taking one last glance at them, he turned and walked away. As they headed back with the coffee, Sukin asked, are you really okay? If you're not feeling well, you should take a day off. I'm fine. So, Yin Seol replied firmly. All right, but if you start feeling unwell, let me know. Okay, he said with concern. As they entered the crowded elevator, Sukin positioned himself to shield Yunio. You're not getting pushed around, are you? He asked. No, I'm fine, she replied, her tone light. While they stood in the packed elevator, Sukin glanced at her, something unfamiliar stirring in his eyes. Late that night at the Kung house, when Junyoung returned, he softly called out, Yuni. However, she was already asleep. He carefully took her hand and lay beside her, wrapping her in his arms. He whispered into her ear, Yuni, I don't know if you're really asleep or just avoiding me, but I want to tell you something. Just like you don't like Sujin constantly chasing after me, I don't like seeing Sookin always by your side. The next day, Secretary Yin informed Yunil that Director Kong had another meeting and wouldn't be able to join them at the hotel to finalize the contract. He's already signed the documents, she added. Taking the file, Yunil glanced at Junyoung's office door, thinking, is Junyoung still angry? At the hotel, as she opened the folder, she realized it was empty. Look around. It might have fallen somewhere, Yomi suggested, so smiled and said, oh, it's in the office near Yoon Seol's desk. Yunil immediately apologized. I'm so sorry, senior. I was careless. It's all right, but be more careful next time, Yomi said gently. Is there anyone in the office who can deliver it? She asked. Everyone's busy, but I can go. I have a car, Sion offered. That evening, the team gathered to celebrate their successful project and cheered for Sookin, who had saved the day. Yin expressed her apologies again, but Sookin waved her off cheerfully. What's important is that we succeeded. Now, just have fun, okay? He said with enthusiasm. At that moment, Yomi called out, oh, Director Kong is here. Junyoung entered with his usual composed demeanor. Good evening, everyone. He greeted. To celebrate your success, you can order as much as you want tonight. He added, sparking loud cheers from the group. Yin glanced at him, her expression unreadable. As Junyoung sat down with the team, he turned to Sookin and said, it's clear your internship at SA hasn't been in vain. So, of course, I told you I wouldn't disappoint you, sir. Sookin replied with a confident grin. You who seem close, Yomi remarked curiously. Oh, Mr. Kong teaches at our campus, Sookin explained. There must be so many people who admire him. By any chance, do you know if he has a girlfriend? Yomi whispered to Sookin. Before Sookin could answer, Junyoung spoke up. I don't have one. Summoning her courage, Yomi asked, so, do you like anyone? Yunil glanced at Junyoung, her heart racing. I wonder what he'll say. Junyoung finally replied. Who knows? Besides, I don't think any woman would have feelings for me. With a face like that? How is that possible? If I weren't your employee, I'd probably chase after you too. Don't you think so, Yunil? Yomi asked, turning the attention to her. Before Yunil could respond, Junyoung took a piece of meat and placed it in her bowl. Is that true, Chun? He asked, his tone calm but pointed. At the same time, Sookin also placed a piece of meat in her bowl, saying, Sir, you don't need to. I'm always the one in charge of giving food to Yoon Seol. Yomi smiled and teased. You always take care of Yoon Seol, Sookin. Then she turned to Junyoung and asked, Director, are they a couple on campus? Sokun casually wrapped his arm around Yoon Seol's shoulders and said, we're close friends, senior. Provoked, Junyoung said, I think it's impossible for a man and a woman to just be friends. Eventually, you'll feel attracted to your female friend, especially if she's as beautiful as Choi Yoon Seol. Finally, Yoon Seol spoke up, her tone firm. Sir, I think you've had too much to drink. I don't believe all friends are attracted to each other. I've never been interested in Sookin. In fact, we'd probably annoy each other if we tried. So turned to her and said softly, but I've never thought you were annoying, Yuni. In fact, I'm attracted to you. Yoon Seol's eyes widened in shock, while Junyoung's expression darkened. His suspicions seemingly confirmed. As the celebration ended, everyone thanked each other and began to leave. Yuni, let me take you home. It's late, so offered. There's no need, Yuni replied firmly. Suddenly, Junyoung appeared, placing a hand on her shoulder. Since our homes are in the same direction, I'll take her home, he said. Junyoung grabbed her hand, and Sookin noticed. Acting quickly, Sookin grabbed her other hand. Mr. Kong, you drank quite a bit earlier. I'll take Y and Seal home while you wait for a replacement driver, Sookin argued. You don't need to worry about that. I'll use the company's driver, Junyoung said, his tone firm. Before things escalated, Yoon Seol called out Sookin, and he turned to her. If you take me home, it'll be inconvenient for you. So, I'll go with Mr. Kong, she said, gently releasing her hand from Sakyuunga's grip. As they walked away, she waved and said, see you tomorrow, Sookin. Sookin stood frozen, watching her leave with Junyoung. At the King house, as soon as they reached the bedroom, Junyoung slammed the door shut, pinning Yunil against it and kissing her fervently, as though he hadn't tasted her lips in days. When he pulled back, he whispered, finally, I can see you while you're not asleep. Touching his lips, Yunil exclaimed, wait, how can you behave like this? Her voice sharpened as she continued. Do you think this is fun? Getting angry out of nowhere and then leaving me. I never left, Junyoung replied firmly. Breaking free from his embrace, she said, what about the time in the elevator and disappearing quietly in the morning? Junyoung, I don't want any misunderstandings. I've been thinking about my feelings toward you, and I like you even more now. Her voice softened as she confessed. Junyoung's eyes widened slightly at her words. But I'm afraid, she admitted. You always tease me. If you don't want to reply to my feelings, that's okay. You can ignore me, she said, her worry evident. Junyoung rushed forward, wrapping her in his arms. No way, I'm not teasing you, he said earnestly. I've liked you since the very beginning of this marriage, and now I constantly think about you and crave your presence. He confessed before closing the distance with another kiss. The next morning, in the parking area at TJ Corp, Yoon Seol hesitated. Junyoung, I think I should get out first. What if someone sees us? Were you worried that someone will us? Junyoung asked. Why are you bringing him up again? I told you already. You're just my friend. Don't you have any female friends? She asked in frustration. No, he replied flatly. Whatever. I'll go first, she said, opening the door. But before she could leave, he grabbed her hand. You haven't repaid me yet, he said, pointing to his cheek. Realizing what he meant, She stared at him briefly before leaning closer to kiss him. It'll be troublesome if someone sees us, she muttered, just before her lips neared his cheek. However, Jin Young turned his head, capturing her lips instead. She pushed against his chest in protest, but he tightened his grip, prolonging the kiss. Eventually, she managed to break free and stepped out of the car, flustered. Jin Young followed her out, but just as they exited, they heard a voice. Yoon and Director Kong. Why were you both in the same car? It was Yomi. Thinking quickly, Yoon replied, Oh, we ran into each other by chance, so he gave me a ride. With a knowing grin, Yomi said, Oh, I see. But director, you might want to remove the lipstick stains from your mouth. Covering her eyes playfully, she added, I'll go ahead before leaving. Inside the office, as Yoon tried to settle down, So approached her. Are you close to Mr. Kong? He asked. No, what do you mean? You're overthinking things, she replied hastily. Before he could probe further, Yomi called out. So, please get the documents from the sales department. As he left, Sookin glanced back at Jin Young, thinking, Union isn't someone who gets attached easily, but they do see close. Is it because he gave her a ride? Or am I just overthinking? Later, as Yuniel worked, Jun Young approached her, sipping coffee. What are you doing here? What if someone sees us and rumors start spreading? We should be careful, she whispered urgently. Maybe we should just tell them about our marriage. Then we wouldn't need to hide it anymore. Jin Young said nonchalantly. No, I don't want them to treat me differently if they know I'm your wife, she replied firmly. We only agreed to keep it secret in college. Why do we need to hide it here? He questioned C. Meanwhile, as Sookin returned from the sales department, he spotted Jun Young and Yuniel together. What he saw made him freeze. Jun Young handed Yuniel his coffee, and she blushingly sipped from the same straw he had just used. Are they really that close? No way. So thought, his eyes widening. The files he was carrying slipped from his hands, catching young Unk's attention. Curious, she approached him. Noticing his frozen state, she followed his gaze and saw Jun Young and Yoon Seol interacting. A smile spread across her face as she whispered, Soon, I think they're dating. Earlier, I saw them getting out of the same car, and I also saw Yuniel wiping something off the director's face. Sookin stood there, unable to process what he was hearing. So, when will you tell Sookin about us? Jun Young asked Yuniel. Even if we're keeping it a secret from others, you should at least tell your friend. Yeah, but it's not the same as telling Ganon, Yuniel expressed hesitantly. Why? He's just a friend, so tell him as soon as possible. Jin Young pressed. Why are you pushing ing this so hard? She asked. Because I think you're more than just a friend to him. He said it himself the other day. Jun Young replied firmly. Oh, it doesn't mean he has any special feelings for me, she said casually. Jun Young frowned. You really still don't know? He asked pointedly. What I know is that he treats all his female friends the same way. Yuniel thought to herself. But what if Jin Young is right? Will Sookin be okay if I tell him about us? Or would it make things worse if I don't say anything? Her thoughts weighed heavily on her mind. At her desk, she turned towards Sookin and called out, Sook, do you have some free time after work? There's something I need to tell you. With a faint smile, he replied, Oh, what a coincidence. I also have something I want to tell you. Meanwhile, Jun Young sat in his office reading the message from Yunal. I will tell Sookin today what you told me earlier, so you go ahead first. I'll come home after speaking with him. At the cafe, as Yuniel and Sakian sat together, she glanced around and commented, This is such a beautiful cafe. It's perfect for taking pictures, but honestly, I feel like we don't really belong here. It's more suited for couples. So, Kin set his drink down. What's wrong with us being here? He asked, his tone serious. Caught off guard, Yuniel laughed nervously. Oh, don't take it seriously. I was just saying, since we're friends, it feels a bit out of place, she explained awkwardly. Without warning, Saki reached out and held her hand, his grip steady. Yoon Seol, he began, his voice firm. Starting today, I don't want us to just be friends anymore. From the very beginning, I've always liked you. Pulling her hand away, she asked, seriously, last time you rejected me and said you were joking. So why now? That was sudden, and I wasn't prepared. But when I saw you with Mr. Kong, I felt confused and anxious. That's when I realized my feelings for you, he admitted calmly. So Jun Young was right. I need to tell him about our marriage before this gets worse. Yoon Seol thought. So actually Mr. Kong is. Before she could finish, Sookin grabbed her shoulders. Yin, I know Mr. Kong is attractive, but I know you better than he does. If you want to date someone else first, that's okay. I'll wait for you patiently, he said with affection. With a sigh, Yan began. Sookin, calm down and listen to me. You don't need to wait for me. We can only be friends because I'm already married to Mr. Kong. Her words left Sookin in shock. He pulled his hands away. Yuniel, are you out of your mind? You shouldn't joke about marriage. Did he ask you to marry him? He's just teasing you. Don't fall for it. So, Chin said angrily. It's true. I was the one who asked her to marry me, and it wasn't a joke. Jun Young's voice cut through the tension. He walked in, grabbed Yoon Seol's hand, and removed all her rings except the wedding ring, showing it to Sookin. Sorry, Sooki-yun, but I'm already married to him, Yoon Seol said sincerely. Yoon Seol is my wife. We want to let you know because you're her friend. We've been keeping it secret on campus, but I trust you to keep it to yourself, Jin Young added. Let's go, Yoon Seol. You'll need some time to process. Is this Jin Young said, pulling her away. Sookin stood there stunned. They're married? Since when? Memories of all the incidents replayed in his mind. Clutching his head, he thought, how did I not realize it sooner? How could I ignore all the signs? At Sujin's place, she shouted in frustration. Mister, and why hasn't your person secured me an internship at TJ Corp yet? Please calm down, Miss Sujin. It will happen soon, Mr. replied cautiously. We've also received information that Kang Junyong is getting closer to one of the interns. Her voice rose with irritation. How can I stay calm after hearing something like that? Mr. remained composed. The person will deliver good news soon. Yes, you, Miss. You could trust him. He's the same source who informed us about his trip to Guam. Sujin paused, then nodded. All right, since he provided accurate information before, I'll trust him for now. Turning sharply, she added with a smirk. Mr. Make sure to give him a gift. We need him to remain loyal. I know. Sujin always get what I want. 2 days later at a cafe, Ganon asked. Soken confessed to you. Yesterday, he asked me about your secret marriage, but didn't say anything about his feelings for you. Yeah. I still can't believe it. Yunil sighed. But why does he want a serious relationship with you now? Ganon wondered aloud. He said he realized it because of Junyo. Yunil explained. Does Mr. Kong know? Ganon asked. Yes, in fact, he bluntly told Sukin that we're married. Yunil replied. Oh, so he was there too. Who? Jinan raised an eyebrow. Yes. He's the one who suggested I tell him about our marriage. But Sukin didn't come to the office yesterday. Do you think it affected him? Yunil said, her voice laced with worry. Waving her hand dismissively, Ganon replied. Yunil, it's Sakian. Don't worry about him. He just needs time. You should be worrying about Mr. Kong instead. What? What's wrong with him? Yunil asked, puzzled. Why do you think he suggested you tell Soken about the marriage? Yanan asked. No. Why? Because he thinks Sukin doesn't see me as just a friend, Yunil replied. Do you really think he cares about Soken's feelings? Mr. Kong just want to make it clear that you're his wife. Your marriage is developing better than I expected, Ganon said with a wide grin. That night at the Kong house, Yunil lay on her bed, staring at the unanswered messages she had sent to Sukin. Is he all right? He hasn't replied yet. I'm starting to worry about him, she thought. From behind, Jinyoung called out. Aren't you asleep? Startled, she turned to see him. Oh, you're home? No, I'm not asleep yet. Why are you hugging your pillow like that? Are you feeling unwell? He asked, unbuttoning the top of his shirt. It's just my stomach hurts a little, she replied. He walked over, placing his hand on her forehead. It's a relief you don't have a fever. If you're still uncomfortable tomorrow, don't go to the office, he said with concern. It's fine. It's just that it's the first day, she replied hesitantly. The first day? He asked confused. Just get it, she said embarrassed. Smirking, he replied. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Just let me know if it hurts. Sitting beside her on the bed, he extended his hand. Come here, Yunil, he said gently. She turned to face him, then asked, Jinyoung, how did you know about Soken's feelings? He sighed before answering. It was obvious from his actions. Just think about what he's done for you and how he treats you. Then, with a teasing grin, he added, why are you regretting this marriage after finding out about his feelings? He did say it would have been fine if you were with me before you accepted him. So, tell me honestly, do you want to accept his feelings? Disappointed, she turned away. If I say yes, will you let me? She asked softly. Of course not, Chun Seol, he replied firmly. She tightened her grip on the pillow. You already know how I feel about you, but the way you always question it makes me sad, she admitted. Junyoung raised his hand, gently caressing her face. Gracing her lips with his fingers, he said, then tell me how you feel now, Chun. Blushing, she hesitated for a moment before grabbing his hand. Finally, she confessed. I love you. Ilubayo, Ganjun. I really love you, and it's only you. Then, can you show me your feelings? He asked, holding her face tenderly with both hands. Without hesitation, she grabbed his collar, pulling him close, and kissed him deeply. He reciprocated, wrapping his hand around the back of her head, pulling her even closer as their affection poured out in that tender moment. The next day at the office, Yin noticed that Sukin had finally come back. Sukin, are you okay? She asked, but he didn't respond. You don't want to talk to me? Sukin, we're friends, she added, her voice softer. But he still didn't reply. He simply walked to his desk and sat down, completely ignoring her. Yuni sighed, unsure of how to comfort him. Later, they crossed paths near the elevator. He tried to call out to him again, but he ignored her, walking right past. Frustrated, she grabbed his hand and pulled him to the side for a private conversation. So, Kuin, just listen to me, she said earnestly. I should have told you earlier, but that doesn't mean we're not friends. I just wanted to keep my marriage a secret. It all happened so quickly. What happened, Yunil? How'd you two get married? Did you know each other before? He asked, his voice tense. Remember, Sukin, when I asked you to marry me, it was because my grandfather was sick. You rejected the idea. And then Junyoung appeared, she explained. Oh, so now you're calling him by his name, he said, crossing his arms. And the two of you just got married so easily. Yes, she replied calmly. Our families are close, and we had the same goals. You should have told me the real reason from the start, he said angrily. Like you said, we're very young. Even if you had agreed, our families might have had issues. This marriage happened because of Kang Junyoung, she stated firmly. So Kun, I'm sorry I hid this from you, she added clearly. But I only see you as a friend. He stared at her for a moment before replying. Okay, even if we're just friends, I'll wait for you. Yoon, if you ever stop loving him, just come to me, he said with determination. Yoon Seol sighed deeply and said, So Hyun, we'll always be friends and you don't have to wait for me. With that, she turned and left. The next day at TJ Corp, Sukin arrived with a new hairstyle, exuding fresh charm and energy. Greeting everyone cheerfully, he quickly became the center of attention. So, with this new look, you seem more mature, complimented Miss Yin. Thank you, he replied, flashing a smile. Meanwhile, Yin watched him from a distance, thinking, it's a relief that Sukin is back to his usual self. Miss Yin, you look different today as well. So said, really? She asked, surprised. Yes, that new bag really suits you. So complimented her. Oh, thank you, Miss Yin replied, smiling. Just then, Yunil received a call from Junyoung. After a brief conversation, she got up to leave. Miss Yun asked curiously, Yunil, was that Mr. Kong? Yes, she replied. He asked me to send hot coffee to his office. Okay, then hurry up, Miss Yun said. As Yunil left, Miss Yun glanced at her, a thoughtful expression crossing her face as if she sensed something unusual between Yunil and Mr. Kong. And that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. If you're excited for the next chapter, let me know by dropping a comment and hitting that like button. Your feedback helps me decide when to release the next one. So stay tuned, and I'll drop it soon. At the cafeteria, Sakian ordered 2 coffees. Soon, Secretary Yun arrived to place her order and insisted on paying for him. Thank you, Sukin said politely. Seeing the 2 cups, Yun asked, who's the other coffee for? Sukin replied, truthfully, it's for Yoon Seol. She likes to have coffee after lunch. Yin raised an eyebrow. Oh, I see. I remember you and Yoon Seol were called to Mr. King's office on your first day. That's not something he usually does for interns. Are you 2 related to him in some way? No, it's nothing like that. We're his students, and since our group scored the highest, we were selected to intern at SOV. So explained casually. You nodded, but added, oh, I thought either you or Chun Seol might have a personal connection to him. So thought back to how Yuno was indeed connected to Junyoung, but he smiled and said, I wish I were related to him. They continued chatting, and Yun mentioned how she initially worked as the CEO's secretary, but transitioned to working for Mr. Kong after SOV and TJ Corporation merged. Meanwhile, as Yunil was arranging papers, her phone buzzed. It was a call from Junyoung. Come down to the parking lot, he said. I told you don't flirt at work, she complained. Who's flirting? I just called to have you pick up some snacks. What were you thinking, Yoon Seol? He asked teasingly. Her cheeks turned red, unsure of how to respond. Fine, I'm coming, she said quickly and hung up. When she reached the car, she asked through the window. Where is it? In the back, he replied. She grabbed the box and asked, are you apologizing with this for what happened yesterday? With some, Junyoung handed her another box. It's nothing like that. This one's for you. Open it, he said. She opened the box, and her face lit up. Oh, it's so pretty. Did you buy this for me? She asked excitedly. It's Mean Jean's suggestion. He's great at finding good spots, Junyoung said nonchalantly. So, this is what you meant when you said men speak through actions, right? She asked, her eyes sparkling. When did I ever say that? He teased. You said it yourself. How can you forget? She said, puffing her cheeks. Okay then, she pressed. Tell me honestly, did you do this because you missed me? You got it wrong, Chun said. I'm just fulfilling my duties as a husband, he replied with a chuckle. Let's go upstairs now, he added, stepping out of the car. As they walked, she asked again. Jae-jang, you really don't want to admit it, do you? Walking ahead, he threw her own words back at her. I think it's better if we don't flirt at work. She huffed, thinking, I'm not the one flirting. He's the one teasing me. When they reached the office, her eyes widened. S stood there. Hi, Jinyoung. It's been a while. Sujin greeted warmly. Hi, Sujin. What brings you here? Jinyoung asked confused. My dad couldn't attend the meeting, so I came on his behalf, she replied, then turned to Yoon Seol. Oh, hi, Yoon Seol. I forgot you were interning here. Where are the others? Her eyes drifted to the box in Yunil's hands. Oh, is that from the popular store? Junyoung must have bought it for me, Sujin said shamelessly, grinning. Mister, and must have told you about my visit, she added smugly. After Sujin left with Junyoung, Yoon Seol stood still watching their backs in silence. Moments later, Mr. and approached Yoon Seol and said, Miss, please bring those boxes to the pantry. Later, Mr. and distributed the cakes among the staff. Please help yourselves. This is a gift for Miss Sujin from Mr. Kong, he announced. The staff began praising Sujin. She's so beautiful, and she and Mr. Kong make such a good-looking pair, one of them gushed. Mr. Kong is really romantic to bring such a lovely gift for Miss Sujin. Another chimed in. Yunil listened silently, her heart sinking at their comments. At the end of the day, Sukin approached her. Are you heading home, or are you waiting for Mr. Kong? He asked. He seems busy, she replied. But didn't his meeting end a while ago? He questioned. Maybe he has other work, she said. Okay, then I'll head out first, Sokin said and left. Yunil prepared to leave as well. As she glanced at Junyoung's office, she wondered, is he still working? Why hasn't he sent me any message? A sudden thought crossed her mind. Is he still with Sujin? The elevator doors opened, and Junyoung stood there looking effortlessly dashing. Weren't you still in the office? She asked. He said nothing, pulling her into the elevator. Intertwining their fingers, he held her hand tightly. What are you doing? What if someone sees us? She asked, glaring at him. I don't care. They'll just think we're dating. He replied indifferently. Were you looking for me? He asked. I was just curious since I didn't see you anywhere, she replied. Or did you think I was with Sujin? He asked, his tone teasing. Figure it out yourself, she snapped, running toward the car. Doesn't he already know how I feel? She thought of the car. She noticed another cake box. Oh, there's one more. I didn't get to taste it earlier, she said. How did it feel when everyone ate your cake? He asked. I felt like something was taken from me, she admitted honestly. Then eat this one now, so it won't be taken, he said. She opened the box and smiled when she saw her name labeled on the cake. Did you just buy this? She asked. I had to label it so it wouldn't get taken, he replied. She grinned. I need to show this to mom and dad, she said. Seriously. Junyoung frowned. There's no need. Eat it now, or I'll eat it, he warned, trying to grab it from her. Dodging him, she said. You said it's for me, so I'll eat it. She took a bite, and Jeannie Young leaned closer, brushing his thumb against the corner of her lips. Since you're eating yours, I'll have mine, he murmured before capturing her lips in a kiss to taste the cake himself. The next day, as Yunil entered the office, she noticed the way people were acting differently around her. They whispered among themselves, occasionally glancing in her direction. Curious, she approached Sookin. Sookin, did something happen? And does it have anything to do with me? She asked. He hesitated before leaning in. I heard something from Senior Yomi, he said, his tone cautious. Apparently, Mr. said a few things yesterday while handing out the cake, he added, reluctant to continue. So, just tell me it's okay, she urged him. He finally spoke. He said that you're coming between Sujin and Mr. Kong, and there's something about you flirting with Mr. Kong, because he's wealthy. He said his words heavy. Yunil listened quietly, her expression frozen. After a moment, she composed herself and replied. So now I'm the bad woman stealing a man from a good woman, she asked dryly, pointing at herself. Yeah, something like that. So admitted quickly, adding, but you don't need to worry. Of course not, she replied firmly. Anyway, our internship ends next week, and I don't want any drama before that. Sokin hesitated for a moment before asking. But Yoon Seol, are you sure there's nothing between them? They do seem close, and if Sujin doesn't know about your marriage, her reaction kind of makes sense. Yun's eyes widened at his words, caught off guard. As they were talking, Miss Yoon called out, hello, Miss Sujin. Sujin entered the office elegantly dressed, her presence commanding attention. Hello, everyone. Good morning, she greeted warmly. Yunil watched Sujin, her thoughts racing. Sujin and Junyong, but she quickly dismissed the idea. No, I'm sure Junyong wouldn't hide anything from me. Sud approached Sookin and Yunil enthusiastically. I wish I had joined your group, she said, finding sadness. Then grabbing Yunil's hand, she announced loudly. Yuni is my close friend. When Junyong and I went to Guam for vacation, she was also there. Turning to everyone, she added, thank you all for taking care of my dear friend. Bowing politely, Secretary Yun approached them. Miss Sujin, the meeting room is ready. You can wait for Mr. Kong there, she informed her. Sujin nodded and turned to Mr. An. Mr. And I need my favorite macchiato, she ordered firmly. Mr. and turned to Yoon Seol. In turn, could you bring it please? He asked curtly. Okay, I'll check the downstairs cafe to see if they have it. Yoon Seol replied. But Mr. and stopped her. Miss Sujin only likes macchiato from her favorite cafe, he said with a tone of finality. Before Yunil could respond, Sookin raised his hand. Oh, I know Sujin's favorite cafe. I'll bring it, he offered cheerfully. Sujin glanced at Mr. and disapprovingly. Mr. And even though they're interns, they're my friends. You can't treat them like that, she scolded. Mr. and quickly bowed. My apologies, Miss Sujin. Before anyone could leave to